order from the Leominster Planning Board for September 19th, 2016. First, we have a continued site plan open, public meeting for Exchange Street.
Good evening, Ed Oldfield, returning again for our third and hopefully third time's a charm. Just to reiterate some of the things that was discussed in the last meeting. More parking, access, and the unit placements on the site. What we did is we kind of looked at the site a little hard, just overview, trying to eliminate some of the access on Exchange Street. So we made a main access, which was previously the gravel driveway access. That's a 24-foot full width access. We did go out and check this, the access coming down to the previous roadway, and that is 24 feet, and we do have parking spaces next to that building. So that was correct. We added some parking in here, eliminated the buildings up in this location, shifted things around. I made it a T intersection versus probably a Q intersection that was there before. So now it's where the parking spaces were in excess of 5 spaces over and above. That does not include garages. Then that's on-site spaces over and above the garages. And I think those are the only items that we talked about, but I think the access changing that gravel versus a main, and we had, remember we had 2 entrances.
You got your own diagram? First one?
No. Yes.
Things look good.
You got it? Good one, Paul. So we eliminated, so, yeah. So we had this gravel driveway that was right here, way down here. This one was stuck up above. We now eliminated that area, it's green area. Basically moved everything 90 degrees. Everything.
So it's on the driveway going out.
And we have this is now going up here, and then we have this driveway coming down, which we did check this we have parking spaces here.
And did the location of this driveway change at all?
We changed, yeah, because this driveway, that was, well, we had 2 of them before.
Yeah.
This driveway was coming into the side load here.
Yep.
And then a front load here. This is now gone. This is now in this location right here, right in the middle
Okay.
of the property.
Where in relation to Daly Street is it?
Daly Street is right slightly, it's right here, right across from this property corner, which is right here. There's a little bit more area.
Okay. Any questions on this plan?
Do you want me to reiterate, Sal, what we went through while you're here?
No.
What we did is we changed everything, did everything 90 degrees. We eliminated that driveway here, moved that up to a main driveway, moved everything down.
You got a meter.
How many spots?
It's actually, we're in excess of 5.
Okay. Is this the only drawing we got? Do you have details on this? A detailed drawing?
I gave her 3 copies.
the old one.
But is
Yes.
this an enlargement of
Yeah.
this?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is
That's the same as this.
yeah.
Do we have a landscape plan, or is that included?
Well, that's, show this landscape on this, the landscaping on this,
Okay.
showing all.
Some trees here.
We added a couple trees, screening this area, Mr. Chairman. on this side, along the bottom, and then some larger trees down closer.
When are we gonna get a as-built of the first section? And when are we gonna get the driveway in that first building corrected?
Well, we can give you an as-built. I mean, these are all as-built. I think the last meeting, we showed that there wasn't a substantial change except for one unit that was slid because we hit the turbine. So, as far as the as-built, we can give that as part of a condition. As far as that parking space, to my understanding, that was granted because it was by the building inspector, and that's.
I have, okay, give me the paperwork. I have nothing on that.
Okay.
And the building inspector cannot overwrite the planning board. He never came to the planning board, and that was a specific condition that there be no pull-out, no parking on Exchange Street. And you came onto the sidewalk and eliminated the sidewalk.
We went through this.
And that's the problem we have. I mean, when we have a specific condition, okay, the building inspector can't go and change it. All he is an enforcement officer. He has no right.
Yeah, we talked about this last meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
And I look
So-
at this drawing, and it's still shown on there.
Well, because it's still there.
Yeah, well, I know it's there. And my question is, you know, we go on good faith that you come in with a drawing. When I look at a drawing, that every building is in a different location from what the drawing was. Some minor, I'll look at some
All due
minor.
respect, Mr. Chairman, all the buildings were, except for this one building down here, was slid because of the turbine.
And you get the
All of
turbine.
them were the exact same place
But
they
that-
were before.
Okay,
And when we
but
submitted
the
those- submitted that,
configurations
it will
are
be the
different. When we overlay on it, we can see there was no question that there was configuration. The overlay is different. We did that.
same. We did, and it was not that far off.
Not that far off
was-
is off.
Yeah,
When something comes into us, we ask it that, and if there's gonna be a change, yes, you can get site changes, but that was a major change. And I had a past member, who has since passed away, it was emphatic that there be no pulling out onto Exchange Street. And it was total disregard.
This one unit here was the only one that we said that was shifted from here to here.
Basically, what looks down there looks decent, looks good. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with things being done and this board being ignored and things just being done, oh yeah, we can move it 5 feet this way. We can move this building 10 feet. Okay? That's just not the way you do it. Now, my only recourse here is to hold up the second half until we ask for a as-built drawing and we ask for a correction, a solution to that problem in the front.
Okay, so I guess.
And I haven't got a solution to either one.
Either we take it out or we leave it.
Yes.
John, Jim Exaris, 9211 Blind Pass Road, Sarasota, Florida. I'm the one who built that complex. The garages were built consistent with your drawings and with your design, where no garage faced Exchange Street at your direction.
Correct.
Subsequent to that, the occupants requested, and they have placards that are ADA placard occupants, requested through disability, through the building department, to have handicap access, and it was granted. If you want to exceed the ADA and issue an order, we will comply. But I am not going to take on ADA. That's going to be
Show
something
me
you
the
do.
paperwork.
I didn't apply. It's not my paperwork, John. The
If
occupant
they've got-
applied.
If they've got the paperwork,
They do.
then I'd like to see the paperwork.
We would have to request that. It's not our paperwork.
Then request it. I've got nothing. Okay, even ADA, if they come to us, that, you know, we have rules and regulations.
Your building inspector is the one who issued it, not mine.
I don't-
And we'd be happy to go along with anything you request.
I want to see, if he,
Give us an order and we'll follow it.
I want to see the order. I want to see the paperwork. Okay, that's all, that I'm asking.
We can request it, that's all we
Okay,
can do.
if you got ADA paperwork and that stuff, yeah, I have to agree, I've tangled with ADA over the years. But I have a problem because that backs out into it literally takes out a sidewalk.
And one of the conditions that was requested by the building inspector was they cannot back into Exchange Street. They must back the vehicles in and pull onto Exchange Street. And if you go by there, that's exactly how they park.
I go
go by there every day.
I can't address that, I don't know
I'm
whether they pull in or out.
Those were the conditions that were placed by the building inspector. Those were the requirements, and that's how it was accomplished.
Then I want to see the paperwork from the building inspector,
Then I would just
Okay.
say, if you want to make that a condition, we'll provide it.
okay?
That's all we can do. We can request it and provide it.
And ADA, if there's paperwork from ADA and the building inspector, and they approved it, and without coming to this board, he's in error.
And I'm not going to police the building inspector. I work for him, not above him.
I don't, you know,
And with respect to
and,
location of buildings, every
because
single...
that was suspicious. When I get, sometimes, most of this stuff can be changed. We
Yep.
know there are field changes, okay?
I agree.
I see it all the time.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with that. You know, the boulder, there's ledge, there's water, you know, we know that. When you get into the ground, you have to make changes. I'd like to get some feedback, but this one was a specific condition, okay, made by this board, and it was totally disregarded. So in that case, then if the building inspector is wrong, then he's wrong, because he should have said this, because he has no right.
We brought it up. It was not disregarded, John. We
Okay.
brought it up, we explained it. The building inspector met with me on site. He said because of the ADA requirement, he was going to grant it with the condition they back in and not back into the space and pull out onto Exchange Street. And that was his condition. I was there for the meeting. I explained to him the condition that was placed by the planning board, and he thought that ADA trumped it. So we're just going along with the authorities. With respect to locations of buildings, every single foundation was submitted to the building department. This is the way the process works, so the board's clear. We submit the foundation to the building inspector. He allows the foundation to be installed. The engineer then supplies a certified drawing locating the foundation on the site. He then issues a building permit. That was done for every building on that property. We came back with one minor modification at the very beginning for the buildings on the street. And the building inspector and the engineer all explained, and I think it was the previous one, I forget, but she said it was approved as a minor modification. We explained the turbine and the situation with the old factory. She said minor modifications we don't have to come back for. Majors, we want to know about it. It was deemed these were minor by the building inspector.
Okay.
He issued the permits.
I asked for an as-built drawing, I haven't gotten
You
it.
should have that. You deserve that, and you should get
I
that.
don't have an as-built, now, I'm looking for the as-built drawing, and I want to see the paperwork on this, that the ADA came in with a request on the paperwork.
And I think
Now, how do I get that?
those are both reasonable requests, and we should supply you with them.
Okay.
I think the last meeting we said that we were going to supply, that the as-built was going to be as part of the condition. And
Can't the
at that-
building inspector just supply us a note?
He should have it. It's his.
I don't know, I haven't,
would
no,
would
no,
think.
this is the first time that anybody came to me and said that the building inspector was involved, okay?
I thought
And
you
that,
were.
oh,
I
I'm
apologize.
saying, so at this point, that's where I'm up. Okay, now you're saying you bring in new information.
Mhm.
So now you have new information, we'll act on the new information,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
okay? And that's all I'm trying to do, is straighten it out. And, because it sort of bothers me when we have a specific requirement, okay? And it's gotta go away, eventually.
I just want the board to realize, as a developer, we built it exactly as you specified. The garages do not face Exchange Street.
No, I
We
agree.
specifically built it as you requested.
The driveways are off to the side, I know
The occupants
that.
then asked for specific relief because of their condition. They're both in their 80s. They have handicap placards. I didn't put a handicap symbol in the driveway. I don't want to advertise that they're parking there. I don't want to make it worse
Well,
than
that's
it
not
already is.
required on private property.
I didn't want to make it worse than it is, but I'm just explaining so the board understands.
Yeah.
We didn't thumb our nose at that decision. We followed it to the T. We did everything, and then the relief came from the occupant to the building department. We weren't involved in the relief.
Okay.
And for what it's worth, they do back into that space.
Yeah.
Those spaces.
Yeah, I get it.
Never
You know, I
seen
mean,
them
just-
not
that's
have
something for the-
No, okay, I mean, that's, okay,
Because
that's
you
fine.
can't go,
You live-
people supply the paperwork.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The building inspector can just write a thing. With that. Enter it in.
well, there should be some paperwork there.
Yeah, or
In
at
that
least
file.
a conversation or something he can refer to.
Well, just keep in mind, it was a different building inspector.
Different building
So,
inspector.
I'm sure there's files, but
No.
it won't be part of the
I can only
recollection.
represent you the meeting that I was at. I can't tell you I saw a letter, I did not see a letter, but I will request it. But I did attend the meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
I can't see that much problem.
okay, open this up to the audience. Do I have any questions from the audience?
Yes. Yes.
I'll ask one more time. Do I have any questions from the audience?
That's what we're talking
A third and final time? Board, do I have anything from the board?
Because we got a better
Okay.
design.
Yeah,
The
It's a much
entrance,
better design.
and we've
Yeah.
got additional spots.
we corrected that problem.
Which is good.
And so.
Yep. And sidewalk.
Okay.
I'm okay with it. No questions. All right. I mean, this cataracts. I think it's probably like this.
Motion close the public meeting? That's open.
It should come up under, exchange, okay, old business. Okay, this will come up under old business.
Pat,
gonna be closed?
yeah.
Do we want to close it?
Motion to close.
Yeah,
We'll
does
close
everyone
with-
on
Pat.
Pat, Tommy.
Okay. Hearing's closed.
Got a vote?
Oh, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
And I also want to thank you for a very good decision on Walk Drive. I wasn't at the meeting, I apologize. Living in Florida, I don't get to come to a lot of meetings anymore, but excellent job on Walk Drive, and I thank you for your help. Have a
Okay.
great night.
Take care, Blind Pass.
Pat.
I'll be down there in 3 months.
Not the chicken.
Site plan, open public meeting for Research Drive. Registry Motor Vehicles Building.
So they are closing the other. Yes. All this is going to be. Yep.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Bill Hannigan with Hannigan Engineering. We have first project for Southgate Business Park finally coming through. The board's probably aware of the project from years ago. We created subdivision, built a road between the branch and the state. And now we have our first potential tenant coming in, being the registry of motor vehicles. There's actually 2 buildings proposed on the property. There would be a reconfiguration of the lot lines to accommodate this. The lot lines that were created by the original subdivision were relatively conceptual in nature, but for the purpose of creating lots, they were fine, so we would have to follow this up with an A&R plan to create this lot for its construction. The proposal puts the vehicles building in the front of the property, with the majority of the parking in the back. It also adds an office building over here, which would have 2 or 3 tenants. One of the tenants we're anticipating coming over this area would be A Affordable, because they pretty much stick wherever the registry goes.
Yeah, when somebody has a problem with their insurance.
Yeah. So what we try to do is we try to set the project up for the remaining portion of the development on this side of the road. So that we have 2 entrances to the project overall, but this entrance here will become a driveway access to the rear part of the lot to provide another access point for these lots in the back to funnel through. So this access here really is probably what most people use as access for is access to this building over here, which is about 4,700 square feet, I believe, 4,400 square feet. So there's enough parking on here. The parking requirements of the registry were 120 spots. They don't have nearly that where they are right now, and this will afford them the ability to handle the parking loads that they typically see for their project. The parking has been set up with a substantial amount of accessible parking at the front, some road test parking for the licensure of new drivers. This would be basically some staff parking on the side, typically, as you would think of it as. The parking in this area here would be allocated towards this building in this location here. So the registry of motor vehicle parking would essentially start in this area here and encompass all this parking here, and that would be designated as such on the site. This would be some more staff parking over in this area here. The building is a single-story building, pretty basic on the street side, glass enclosure on the right on the parking lot side for access. Relatively innocuous building. The sewer and drainage and water for the project, basically we're going to bring in a water main. There is a full water main and sewer and drainage in the street. We're bringing a water connection that exists onto the property, and at that point we're going to bring it across the front and we're going to extend it down as access drive, so that we'll be able to utilize that as a main within the property without actually coming back out onto the street. So from that, we'll be able to tie in the domestic water for both buildings. The sewer manhole in the street will be connected to another manhole on the property. There'll be a connection made to that sewer manhole from each of these buildings. Then we're going to bring the sewer line through the property as well, so we can then expand that and extend that down on the property as well. So all the utilities that we're pulling off the site right now, the intent is to pull them off the site not only for this project, but actually get them out to the area for further development to be able to reach those points there. The drainage is the same way. Essentially, the detention basin that exists right now will have some slight modifications to it. The original design berm elevation was at elevation 500. It actually was constructed a little bit below that, around 499.5. So what we're going to do is we're going to raise the berm up and adjust the spillway as well with some additional stone. And that'll allow us to not only take in this site, but probably to take in quite a bit of the other sites along this side of the roadway and to incorporate that drainage into this overall system. The detention basin was designed with some excess capacity for that purpose, and that we're taking advantage of now. There will be a stormwater management device, water quality unit just prior to the entrance to pick up and treat the water prior to discharge, which is part of the new stormwater management regulations that actually were not fully in effect when this went through the whole process. Lighting and landscaping are shown on the plan. The basic lighting is around the perimeter and some lighting in the middle for pedestrian walking. What we try to do is we try to create a center line landscaped aisle, but each of the parking areas along here will also butt up against the concrete sidewalk. So the traffic of pedestrians will actually be intended to come right down the middle here, right up to the main entrance, which this is the main entrance right in here. Okay. The landscape plan shows a myriad of trees and shrubs being planted around the property. The lighting is pretty typical for this type of a project, low-level LED lighting for that. We went in front of Conservation the other night. We had a site walk with them, and the majority of the work that we're proposing there is acceptable. They do want us to do some maintenance on the basin and to place some signs along this part of the parking lot, basically saying, don't dump the snow over the bank, or words to that effect. So they want us to do snow storage, which we have snow storage shown on the plans in this area here, over in this area here, and of course we'll be able to store snow on either side, as long as we're not basically, they don't want us to do it in this area here right next to the wetlands. So there's ample room for snow storage for the property. Any questions?
Okay. Question on that access road, that future, what is the width of that?
That is 30 feet.
In and
Okay.
out, both sides?
No, this is 30. This is 24 through here, this is 24.
That's that good, because I couldn't find, because when I looked at it, when I look at the drawing, it next down, you have a width, you know, and then but your entrance is narrower than your road width itself.
Where?
Well,
That's a road line you're looking
slides
at.
over, Joe.
This one here?
Goes all the way over
Slides,
here.
yeah, and then they got a curved radius.
This right here? Or you might be seeing,
Yeah,
the
he's
property
seeing
Yeah,
line.
that's what I think you are.
Okay, you're going into the property line then, huh?
Right, right.
You're moving
Yeah.
that property line?
This is gonna be a common easement.
But is it
over
gonna
this
be
area.
an enter and exit on the same side, right?
Yeah,
Both of them,
yeah, this is two-way.
two-way.
Right,
And the
Okay.
other's two-way.
right. This is two-way as well. But this two-way in here will provide access into this one, and provide access to this one, eventually access to this one, with access to this one and this one as well.
Oh, you mean that?
So we're trying to
Yeah.
basically reduce the amount of curb cuts we're gonna have on the road by providing one main driveway into this whole area.
Good idea.
Well,
Now, the
yeah,
re-
but you know what I don't like about that, and it might be a good idea, but you're gonna force all the traffic onto these little connectors instead of coming right onto Research Drive.
Well, there'll be
I mean,
another
that's gonna
one.
be a block and a half if that's a busy spot, wouldn't it?
No.
Coming in and out of there?
You're better off doing this than you are having the driveway coming in here and having all the traffic backed up into the parking lot trying to get in and out right here. Okay?
Yeah, but it's even magnified if you extend that back to service
When
the
you,
other
when
lots,
we
right?
have, when we have other
Yeah,
areas over here, there'll be another connection back out this way. So we're not gonna just have one road going into this whole area. There's one driveway coming into this area. This driveway is gonna feed this lot, but this lot will also feed out that way as well. And these back lots here will all feed through.
I'd like to see that road a little bit bigger. If that's gonna be feeding,
yeah,
rather
that
just
should be a
30
road. I mean, a
should be-
major road, not
should
an
be at
entrance.
least 32.
See,
at the
that's what I
main
don't
road.
like. I'm saying you should have, well, you do have one, two.
Can I see the ordinance?
Really?
I get the same one.
I don't know, Bill, I'm kind of the tendency of seeing two egresses just for that site. And then the other road, however it's gonna play into the back sites, because let's say you get some busy uses in those back lots, right? Not, it's a warehouse where you got 6 parking spots required
Now, we can
That's
have
a lot of
semis.
burden. on that. Just my thought.
I
Yeah,
mean, you've got the room now, and you move the lot lines,
Yeah.
and I'm saying I'd rather see that, I think
And then it
30
could be
feet is small.
A true-
I'd rather go as a,
the normal
As a main
driveway
road.
stands at 24 as a starting point. That's-
But you
And
might-
actually, in Leominster, the driveways and aisleways are actually 22.
Yeah,
driveway,
this is
but you're telling me
investment. I
that
mean,
that's
this
gonna
is-
be a connector.
It's not a
This is,
road, it's not a street, it's gonna be a driveway. Okay?
It's a connector.
Yeah, it's gonna
Nonetheless.
be a common driveway for all of these areas.
But
Yeah, it doesn't
when you get a common connector for more than one place, that changes it. You can call it a driveway, it's really a road.
If you would
if
like-
you got a
I don't think-
driveway-
I don't
if-
think there's a
yeah.
problem making.
Go,
it
go to Westboro and look at that right off of Route 9.
I think, just make that a
I'll
little
show you
bit
what it
bigger, I
is.
mean, that,
I
you
don't
know,
think- I don't think there's a problem with that.
So
Yeah,
the whole thing
I-
in general.
yeah, because I think it'll work
It's
out in the long
Computer
run.
Drive, that
You know?
should be size.
If you get-
Tractor trailers going on that road.
Yep, should be sizes.
Well, that's why we wanted to have that traffic separated from the registered
I
traffic.
don't have a problem with that, Billy, but it seems to be small to me. Okay? And of course, we want to make sure that that's also designated, no parking on that, in that area.
I mean, I would agree, I don't think he needs another access here,
No,
if you got one here. Why have
but
three
that's
No,
gonna
that
be a
was okay.
Why
road.
have three curb cuts within
Right.
150?
No, I agree, I'm not looking for another access, that,
Make it a road.
that, coming out on that driveway is fine. Or that road, I want to call it a
Yeah.
road.
Well, you can go out the other
And
one.
coming out, but you also got the main one, yeah.
Especially if it's gonna service those other lots. Or you're gonna just have a
Al-
light
al-
there?
Also, just an interesting comment, is I noticed you, for state employees, you've got the employees parking next to the building where most businesses put the employees parking at the back side of the parking
It's a
lot.
state building.
Yeah, I know.
Part of the design criteria is not by the engineering.
Yeah, that's good.
I gathered that.
That's funny.
Our state,
Well, and truthfully, the inner workings of the building are that they have, like, cash boxes that are gonna come in and out of here. That's gonna be, very restricted parking, et cetera. So there's gonna be, they have certain reasons why they want these doors accessible only to staff, and only to certain staff, to that matter, So there are, inside the building, there are other aspects of it that come into play.
okay.
Do you wanna read the comments? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always good.
Let's go through the comments.
Okay, so I have
We're on the money.
a comment response letter to all the department comments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And not all at the same time.
That's this letter here?
No, that was our submittal letter.
Oh, okay.
So, why don't I just take these?
I'll pass them down.
So the submittal letter that we sent in, one of the things that I did want to go over is relative to we've already talked about the site utilities, but one of the items that was discussed was the MEPA. Okay, and so I'd like to touch base, before we go into the comments, I'd like to touch base on the MEPA stuff. Because one of the things that happened during the original MEPA process of this project was that the traffic studies and the review relative to the signalization of the intersection was going to be periodically monitored as buildings got built within the park, to be able to assess when it was going to be time for us to go to the state and see if we've reached the warrants for the signalization of that intersection. So if you look at the third page, I think it is, of the fourth page of the submittal letter, okay, not the one I just handed you, but the one that was dated, I think it was the 8th of August. Okay, let's talk about traffic. Earlier, there was development traffic to be performed by MS Transportation.
Get this one. Wanna look at this?
It would be the original one, so.
Yeah.
August 8th?
He's passed me
Yes.
that paper as usual.
Yes.
Okay.
The fourth sheet where it says traffic. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As part of that whole program, as I said before, there's a traffic monitoring program that was developed to provide periodic reviews of traffic at the intersection of Research Drive and Central Street. The TMP was outlined in a letter prepared by this office dated August 20th, 2007, and submitted to the board as part of the approval of subdivision. The intent of the TMP was to monitor the traffic base count during the site approval process for each building. The base traffic count was to be based upon the projections from IT manual as each building was proposed throughout the site plan process. This will provide baseline information to determine when additional traffic counts should be performed relative to the volume of traffic approaching Central Street from Research Drive. This will also provide information from Mass DOT relative to the review required warrants relative to traffic signalization of the intersection. Part of the MEPA process, the draft Mass DOT section system findings were developed, which include the TMT requirement. At the time, it was anticipated the signal would need to be made operational when the approach volume on Research Drive reached approximately 150 vehicle trips. The TMT was to be performed by building, as the project advanced to provide periodic monitoring, allowing Mass DOT to determine when signalization was warranted. So basically what we did was, because we didn't know what was going to be inside the park, there was a traffic study that was done that basically used conceptual building sizes and layouts and uses that developed the overall traffic impact. You can't put the light in on day one when there's no traffic because Mass DOT won't let it work them down. So the intent was if we put in, an office building that generated, 50 cars a day, that you deal with that. And you have another a building that might generate, 200 cars a day, and you deal with that. And as you start generating more and more traffic at the intersection, you would then have a monitoring of that on an annual basis, basically, or at each site plan approval, so that you would know how many cars are approaching the intersection during the peak hour. Okay.
Do you know how many cars?
Right now, there's
The
0.
registry? No, how many cars come out of the
But,
registry?
I
We don't
mean,
have a
this is,
study yet. Okay, so what
yeah,
we're
that's gotta
proposing.
be a lot of
Okay.
trips.
Right. So, as stated above, the RMV facility expected to be the primary generator of vehicle trips in the project. User review with ITE manual would fall under the land use category. State Motor Vehicle Department. Based upon square footage of the building, approximately 1,728 vehicle trips per day would be experienced from this user. The peak AM hour, based upon the square footage, would be 192 vehicle trips, and peak PM would be 209 vehicle trips. As this projection exceeds the 150 vehicle trips, the requirement of performing traffic counts would be implemented. So as we come in for a site plan approval, we're now looking at, the condition basically was that when we hit a projection of greater than 150, we would have to do a traffic count today of existing conditions at the street. Well, there's no one in the park. So we're not going to get the results that we were intended to get. Okay, so that we have to kind of modify how we're working on this to make sure that we adjust the traffic to what is really going to happen. And it may be that once the building is up and running, which is what I'm proposing, that after it's running for 2 or 3 months and people understand where it is, we do a traffic count at that point to see what the real traffic numbers are relative to what the ITE projections are.
But Bill, why wouldn't we make an assumption at the beginning of this too, that it's gonna be a max when it opens, right? For vehicle trips just from that facility, and base a number like that, so it's pretty real. And then, instead of making the assumption, you just build it right in now, because they're saying that's when they do the study, kick it off at the beginning,
Well, that's just it.
right?
At what point does it go to
Because then it
a
takes
failure
forever.
and requiring lights? And how many trips?
Mass DOT will determine that.
It all depends on how much traffic.
No, it's not
that's the
150.
number.
Right.
It's not, 150 is not the number. 150 was the number that we agreed upon that we would have our first look at it,
Look at it.
okay? And then from that point there would be a traffic analysis at the intersection, and if the intersection was, right now it's graded probably an A, because there's no traffic coming out of it, all right? If it all of a sudden went from an A to a B, okay, signals aren't warranted, okay? If it goes from A to a D, then Mass Highway's gonna say, well, signals aren't warranted yet, but you guys probably should go into design to get the design phase done. And that's the element that we don't have the information on. Because we're not gonna know that till we actually have traffic running up and down the road.
Well, we do know at what level Mass DOT will take it to a failure, which is D, or to a
Or
D,
so many
which
trips.
would kick in
The lights.
lights.
Correct.
Right.
Okay?
So in other words,
And what is, we know that there is a number.
there is a level of traffic in this area that will kick the lights, the signalization of the intersection into play. Okay?
That also depends on what goes down Route 12 too, right?
Well, it could
Yeah,
happen
it's all-
just
it's
from
all
the trips
tied,
from
yeah.
this
Right
building,
now-
is what I'm saying, so
Yeah,
why
so
wouldn't the
we
There's still a lot of
competition
cars going
Well,
on.
we get
at
know
the
that
same
number.
time, you know?
Okay, so Tom's statement about Route 12 is valid. The counts that we did in 2007
Yeah.
on Route 12 are probably different than they are today. So that has an impact as well. So it's not so much the traffic coming in and out of our site. If there was virtually no traffic on Route 12, and we had 150 cars coming in and out of our site, it would be a big deal.
Right.
It's got to be correlated to what's happening on Route 12 as well.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're suggesting in our proposal is that when the registry building is built and up and running, that some period after that, we do a traffic analysis we do counts basically at the intersection and find out what's happening. Okay, we assess that, we come back to the board, give them an update, and then maybe at that point, we still go to Mass DOT, give them an update, say, hey, here's where we are. We're at 122 cars, an hour at a peak AM and 135 in the PM. Okay, heads up, we're gonna be coming back, we're probably gonna start doing the early design stuff at that point in time. Okay, or it might be that even though we have that number, that the traffic engineer says, hey, look, even though you're at 137 cars a day, the PM peak, it's still a B, you're still fine. We don't know that information until we actually run the tests. Okay, so,
But we can run a test on Route 12 now.
But that's not gonna tell you anything except for what your volume is on Route 12.
Well, we know that the volume on Route 12 was gonna increase, but
Over
not
time.
what you get to today. You know that if you're gonna have 1,700, okay, and you're gonna add that 192 at your peak hour, that's gotta come up 12, okay? And we can figure out which way it's gonna
Well,
come.
what's gonna happen though is that because of the fact that this is now gonna become a destination, you're also gonna increase the traffic on Route 12.
Doesn't that exit?
That's what I mean, you're gonna increase
So you have to
the
wait and
traffic
see.
on 12 by
So
1,700
you
anyway.
eventually have to wait and see.
Per day. See,
Per day.
there's two numbers
I
here,
just
there's
say
three
we
numbers.
start the
There's the
study
AM
right up
peak
front.
hour, the
Right.
PM peak hour, and the daily. Okay,
Right,
the daily doesn't play into it. It's just the peak hour AM. and PM.
You're right, your peak hour, and you're gonna work to your peak hour. There's also, you go through MRPC, which is the district.
Well, you could also
We don't have
snake
to
out
go
the
through- we don't have
backside
to
of
go
it.
through them.
Not yet.
Unless you, yeah,
I
that's a
think you
state
can.
highway. Yeah,
You
you
take
have
a
to.
right
No,
at that
that's
first
state highway,
cul-de-sac.
it's Mass DOT.
It's not
MRPC, we
right
can go
on
there for
the-
guidance.
Not yet.
Yeah, we can go to
It doesn't go
MRPC
all-
for guidance.
Yeah.
But,
But they don't, we'll talk about that.
Maybe 10 years.
It's in the future.
Because the MRPC looks at it, you
they
know,
may have some existing numbers that we could grab.
that's what I'm thinking, that, you know, they should have existing numbers.
And we compare them what we had back in 2000.
That's right, because we should be planning that this, I see that as gonna be a 12 in that section that's fairly high speed.
If
So
you
all
build
of a
it- if you
sudden
build
you
it
get-
next year,
You got high speed and turning
It's a corner.
at that corner,
uphill,
which is gonna, and uphill, which is gonna make that a difficult, you know, a tough intersection. I think we should be planning for that up front.
Well, we have. If you remember correctly, during the meeting process, we actually designed the intersection for the streetlights.
Yeah, I
So the
remember.
turning lanes are already built. Everything that was done for that intersection for streetlights has been completed and constructed, aside from actually putting up the poles and laying the cables.
how long does it take from design to do that?
It's
a
a
process.
Mass DOT, it's probably a year and a half.
Yeah.
Problem
See,
is-
that's the problem.
So
The
you build that
problem
building
is-
and you got a year and a half.
So,
Well, that-
Oh, has it been planned?
Excuse me?
Is the design for lights been done?
No.
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 Just the space.
What we did was we did the layout of the roadway. We widened Route 12, if I remember correctly.
Right.
We widened Route 12 in that area, on the east and west side,
Mm-hmm.
so that we could have a left turn in
The left turn lane.
from the
right.
190 side of the project, okay? We also did a deceleration lane heading south on Route 12 into the project from the Leominster side. Yeah, that's already built, all right?
Are those gonna be put in?
They're not striped or anything.
Yeah, they're striped.
But
Are they?
can't you go to the Mass DOT now and start the conversation?
They won't do it until you have actual numbers to work with, okay?
Yeah.
Because when we went to
Well,
them with our
I mean, I
numbers,
would think you
we
could
went-
project the numbers
right, but when we went to them with the
from the
numbers,
registry.
we went to them
Yeah.
with the numbers from the traffic study that we did in the original park, which was the entire park at build-out, they told us we could not do design at that point in time. Okay, because of the fact that they don't want to have us design something right now and then put it in and then
Not be big enough.
not be, well, not so much that, but
Not to be adequate.
it's not gonna, well, it either might be
Or-
adequate or overkill.
Right.
Okay?
Well, it's just a light, isn't it?
It's,
You stop
That's
it like
one
a
of the-
blinking
that
light.
is the only one that starts, and that might be a solution. That
I
might
mean,
be
you know,
part
you
of it.
got that at Pratt Junction, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Why can't you have another
Could
blinking
be,
light?
could be just a blinker.
Right.
Just at the beginning of this.
But, I mean, can we afford to be a year and a half without? a light?
No, I don't think so. Well, it depends how.
See,
how-
we
I
can't-
mean,
See, we don't know that.
We can't even put a blinking light up without Mass Highway.
Yeah, I know, because it's on Route 12, I know.
No, any lights in the state, no matter where they are, even if they're in
Right.
downtown Leominster, have to go through Mass Highway.
Is there any
Oh,
way?
streetlights.
So there's
No,
no,
signalization.
so there's no component to start the process with numbers, with DOT, or?
We could, the only thing we could do is we could do a traffic study with the projected numbers and tell you what the signalization, what the level of service.
What the level of service would be.
On this projection. And it's
That's just one,
and it's
two
gonna be-
buildings,
It's gonna be A or B.
there could be 20 buildings in there.
Yeah,
Right, well, that's the idea. The idea of doing this was that we were gonna, as each building went in, we would give you the estimate, and when we hit a certain number, then we would.
But you
do
might be
the traffic-
putting in the most busiest building
Right.
first.
Right now.
Correct.
Yeah, that's the
And
problem.
You could have
And that's-
warehouses, you
and that's-
could have,
Rest of them could be nothing.
because those
This
don't
could be
require
the-
the same number of spaces
Yeah.
here. And if you're putting 120 spaces here, you know, there's some major traffic going on. So, yeah,
They put a medical marijuana one. Good.
Yeah.
Traffic too.
there you go.
Yeah, right.
That's unbelievable. I can't believe they can't give you numbers up front, so maybe
No,
we'll
we
put it.
have,
We got the numbers, I got the
Yeah,
numbers.
in other words, we've done the work to the level that Mass
Yep.
DOT wants us to do work right now. What they want us to do
It's
next
just-
is, as we're putting in buildings into the mix, they're asking us to do additional studies along the way to monitor to see where we are.
I
We
totally
have,
agree with
the
that.
only way we can monitor it is by building it.
Yeah.
And I
Can
know
we-
it's
can
a
we-
chicken and the egg.
Can we do a simulated plan, what this would do?
Yeah.
Using the numbers that we have, and then like you said, we've got it, and stripe, you know, we've already got the
striped.
deceleration lane.
It's all
No, but
structured.
nothing,
When's the
but
last
Urban
time
Way
you
is gonna be
said
closing,
that?
correct?
Yeah.
So couldn't you use their numbers?
It's
'Cause
different.
Yeah, but it's different.
It's
Like,
different.
Because that's just transactions.
There's too many people on there.
People from
Yeah.
south
Yeah.
too will be going here,
Yeah.
whereas they're probably heading to Worcester
Yeah.
Right.
now.
You're gonna have-
So here's what we could do, and one of the other things, obviously with it being a state project, we have a timeline we're trying to meet, so we're trying to
Right.
get all these things addressed. But we can absolutely do a level of service review with the projections from these two buildings at the intersection.
Yeah.
That, if you could make that a condition of approval.
I can make that,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Not
can
That's
do
what
that.
I'd
not a
like to
problem doing
see.
it that way.
Because I realize that that's the best we got at this point.
Right,
It's the only thing.
And that'll tell us that, hey, if I'm at A and B, then I don't have an issue.
right.
If it comes out to an F, then we gotta go to,
Then we'll take those projections and move to the state.
yeah,
Don't have any
okay?
problem with
And the biggest problem we have with state is that,
Time.
It's time.
is time. They take and
So
they,
that's why I do it now.
it's their
It's
engineering.
ironic, it's
huh?
ironic that we're gonna have to go, we have a state project that wants to go as fast as possible.
Yep.
But then we have a component
That's
of it
right.
with the state that they're gonna,
Well,
Well, that's a
maybe,
different department.
maybe the
IMF.
maybe the R&B can put some pressure in the Department of
That's-
Transportation.
they've
IMF.
actually been,
So
the
they
DOT's
want,
been
they
actually
want to
very
spend
good.
the money right away.
Yeah.
So Billy,
Because if they don't spend enough, they
when
just
we,
ask
when they
for more
built
while they're
their,
doing it.
um,
I went through one of these builds.
their, Stop and Shop,
This is when I was
you know,
the director.
Water Tower Plaza,
Now it's an
Shaw's.
Shaw's,
Right,
when they built that, wasn't that light built when that was built?
yes, because that was an immediate occupancy of retail components. So when you build a retail center like that,
You have to
the
have
projection is that you're
upfront.
gonna have those places occupied immediately. We built a subdivision with empty lots. Okay, we didn't have a user, we didn't have Bristol Myers Squibb coming in here as part of our project at that point in time, so that's why it didn't mesh that way. But you're exactly right.
Yeah, same thing with Walmart.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably less than what goes into
Oh, yeah, that is less, but
registry, so.
the only concern,
Yeah.
the biggest concern I
Maybe
have
we gotta
there,
do
Just
something
knowing
that's
would
not
be
gonna be that
good.
bad.
biggest, yeah, the
And you
biggest
can't
concern
figure it out.
is gonna have civilization, gotta have signage on the highway and people slow down because they're gonna come over that hill and even though it's 45 miles an hour, I know they'll be.
Yeah,
going
so
through
what
there
we
at
could do is we could
55
do the
feet.
simulated traffic study based upon these uses and what's out there right now. And we could utilize that to go to Mass Highway for permission to add some additional signs along Route 12 relative to the registry location, which is probably something the registry's gonna want anyways.
Yeah, well, that's what I
And we're gonna need
think,
the permission to put those signs up as well.
yeah.
Yep.
Or
Okay.
maybe a yellow light, flashing light.
Well, that don't have to first, that, again, that comes to you.
I know, but maybe
You know what I
they'll
think that
push
does?
for
That does nothing but delay getting a real signalization up.
Yeah,
Okay.
Maybe it's all you need.
okay,
And maybe it
All right.
doesn't either.
So can we go through the department heads?
Yep.
let's go to the department head stuff.
And I did them in order as they're on the top of the department head list. So Board of Health, they said what a great location for the registry. So I don't have
There you go,
response-
that's a
I don't
cheer.
have a response to that. DPW had a comment about the water main being extended down beyond the end of pavement here, which we were proposing to anyways, that's fine. On the catch basin that's currently at the proposed driveway access, they wanted to know where that was gonna end up. It's actually gonna end up at the same location. We're just gonna take out the granite headstone and change the frame style because of the way it is on the structure itself. The sewer and water services have now been added to the plans. So this is where they are on the plans right here, like I talked about earlier, as well as the water from the front. The water quality unit, which actually is still located right here, what we did was we widened this area along the side of the building to provide better access. If we moved this up in here, what would end up happening is we would need a drop structure, which they don't make. You can't make a water quality unit with a drop structure. You want to go down here in order to make it in. So that's why we moved it down here to lower elevation. Okay. The next two comments were relative to the stormwater compliance documentation, just more or less typos that were in there, and those will update and send off the final version of the drainage report for the record. The building department on this had no comments. The Conservation Commission had comments relative to the work being in the jurisdiction and recommending maintenance of the detention basin. So the first part is about the jurisdiction, and we did, as I said earlier, we met with Conservation. We actually did a site walk on the project, and we had a Conservation meeting with them. It appeared everything was all set and agreed upon. The only thing we're waiting for them is from the DEP to get the file number, so we're presuming at the next meeting with the file number in hand that we issue the order of conditions. Okay, but they did have some additional comments. The outstanding maintenance of the detention basin currently on site be conducted as soon as possible prior to the addition of more impervious area. Detention basin is heavily overgrown with shrubs and trees. This can potentially lead to failure of the basin. This basin is actually property of the city. Because the city did this project with the PWET grants at the time, and they owned the road and as well as all the easements as part of that original project purpose. However, in talking with Barry, he's going to work with the city on helping them get it cleaned up. They have put it down there as a party to give help. They agree with the location of the snow storage, but they asked about not putting, as I said earlier, not pushing snow over in this area here, so we've agreed to put signs along this area that says, do not dump snow over bank in this location right in here. We talked about that at the meeting and at the sidewalk. We also then recommended everything, all those local, state, and federal laws be followed as part of the project. The fire department just noted that there's low pressure in the area. We had done, back when we did the original design, McKenzie Engineering actually did all the fire flow calculations, so we'll be working with them relative to the fire protection for the building, but I believe that that's already been reviewed substantially during the subdivision process. That's going to be improvements over to the JITEC pump station to provide improvements to that area there. Police department stated that the site plan does not provide indication that state standardized handicap and accessible spaces meet the required width requirements. We do show all those spaces on the plan. They do meet the requirements, but it's pointed that they're not labeled. So as part of the final plan, we're going to label and put the widths of all those spaces relative to the advanced accessible needs to be 8 feet wide, and the handicap accessible area needs to be 5 feet wide for the striping, the crosshatch areas. But the spaces themselves are 9 feet per the zoning ordinance wide. Okay, and so with those, I think that we would be willing to prepare a final set of plans and prior to issuance of building permit, where those plans will be reviewed and approved by the various departments to make sure we're all set.
Hey, Bill, just a quick question. That, the detention basin, that slopes, what, about 20 foot down? Is it that much? I don't have my glasses on, so I'm just looking at the height
Even if you were up here, you couldn't see
from the
elevation.
parking lot to the detention basin.
The parking lot's at 506. The
Yeah.
bottom of the basin is, I believe, 494. So it's about 12 feet down.
Will there ever be like standing water in there? Or is it designed to push
It's
it out?
designed to, there will be water in there during larger storm events, and it'll be, the more stuff we build, the more water there'll be.
Yeah.
But there's a lot, it is designed to provide some infiltration, so it does do infiltration along the way.
Yep.
And there's also a sub-drain around the perimeter of the bottom to drain it out after each storm event.
Are we gonna do anything to kind of fence it off or put some kind of border up so kids don't wander in there? Not
That was
they
all
should be.
addressed during the subdivision process.
Yeah.
When that was built.
Didn't we have something in there for that?
I think that we did not put fencing on, because otherwise it would be on there. Because that would build as part of the people, so. I believe we have a guardrail along the whole side of it here. And there's no real residential uses you know.
Well, no, I know, but once it connects to the back, you never know what wanders through. Just, wondering if there should be.
What we've done in some cases, we've asked for a bush, like a bramble or a rose.
Just one right here?
No, a lot of them.
No, I know.
And that keeps
You know what we
kids
could
out.
do is we
You
could,
could actually put a fence.
Yeah,
No,
you
we
can
could
either
do
do a,
is- if there's a bunch of brush and stuff growing in this bank right here, this is not gonna affect the stormwater quality,
No,
as far as capacity. Maybe we could just leave that area there. We're gonna talk with DPW about that, because that's already heavily overgrown. So it's probably not a bad idea just to leave that. As long as Conservation Commission's okay with it, I gotta, talk to
yeah,
Mark
well,
about
yeah,
that.
as long as it's natural and that, yeah, that should be okay.
Yeah. But
How
once
about on
again,
the other side where you
this
get the
is-
steep
this-
bank
This is the same.
off the driveway?
We're over here, we have a guardrail going all the way.
You got a guide rail?
Yep.
Okay. I'm more concerned about that with parents coming with
or a
kids,
fence
you
Where?
know.
behind the guardrail.
Well, they're parking their cars and going to the registry. You know,
Go play in the wetlands.
yeah, go play in the wetlands.
Really don't think
Even like
do
a
that.
4-foot fence
It's
would
more
be
dangerous
just
than to
an
be at
extra
the
barrier
RV
behind the
than outside.
guardrail, and you could get away with that probably all the way around.
Well, you have the guardrail, but there's about a 5-foot area beyond that.
Right.
That's level, shoulder.
But then, boom.
Right, but I can't imagine what parent would let their kid get out of the car and go play in the woods when there's registry of motor vehicles, personally.
South.
Apparently.
Sal
did.
Sal did it all the time.
It's the first place
Is this
to
a-
drop them off the
Is
plane.
this a guilty conversation we
No,
have?
they don't do it all.
Let's go.
Okay, let's get back to business.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. Okay, let's open it up to the audience. Do we have any questions from the audience? I'll ask it a second time. Do I have any questions from the audience? Last and final, any questions from the board? We've had a fair amount of discussion.
No.
Okay.
Enough questions.
Do I have a motion to close?
Motion to close. Second.
Motion made and seconded to close the hearing. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Anybody else coming up? Do it again.
Next time you're gonna.
Move it. Next one's done. You back up?
Yeah.
I figured that.
He's back up. Okay.
Kinda had a feeling.
Well, we're not too far off. 701, 702, and 703.
And 7 o'clock.
Open.
4 of them, so.
You gotta open them all up.
They're gonna, yeah, 7. You gotta open them all up. Okay, 7 o'clock. Preliminary subdivision open public meeting for Brooks Pond Village. Open the second one, 701. Site plan, open public meeting for Brooks Pond Village, Lot 2E-1. 702. Site plan, open public meeting for Brooks Pond Village, Lot 4D1. 703. Site plan, open public meeting for Brooks Pond Village, Lot 4E1. Okay.
How you doing?
Great.
For the record, my name is Bill Hannon with Engineering. Peter Raventi's with us tonight to go over this plan. Basically, there is a, since this project originally started, there was I'm not sure if you remember the economy, and the shift in the economy. So since that time, the banks, yeah, you didn't miss that? Tom was in Florida. The banks, as of now, in more recent times, are requiring more and more configured properties for end loans and for construction loans. So part of the reason why we're doing this is to, relative to the preliminary subdivision plan, is to basically create a property line through this, to put all the buildings that are constructed on one lot, and to put all the buildings that are unconstructed on another lot. okay? So that's part of the reason that we're doing that. And we did some of that work with the recent A&R plan as well. So that's all part of that whole mindset.
Light green of the new buildings.
Light green of the new buildings. This is the only building in the existing lot that's the community center, which has not been constructed yet. And there's a pool house that has not been constructed yet near the existing pool. So these buildings up here in the darker brown are actually constructed, and the green ones are not constructed. These buildings over here are the newly proposed buildings. So the lots that we have here are this lot 2E-1 is the lot that is requiring the creation of a subdivision roadway to create additional frontage to be able to pull that lot into it, to be able to have financing for the construction of that. So it needs its own frontage. There's limited frontage. These two lots previously came out and had frontage on Central Street. So by doing this as a subdivision roadway, we would be able to pull frontage off of the end of this cul-de-sac for this lot down here, at the end of the cul-de-sac right in here, for this lot right up in here, and off the cul-de-sac in here for this lot right here. So we would create those three lots, which we'd then be able to finance in three different, two construction loans and one HAMA loan. So that's really the reason why we're doing the preliminary subdivision, is to create those three parcels to do that. As part of that, the roadway was built to at least the subdivision standards, with some points that were not quite there. For example, the 32-foot roadways, or 34 is what required by the regulations. We have a 30 or 32, I think it's 32 on this. So there would be some waivers when we get to the definitive stage that we would be requesting. But the intent of this roadway here is that it would remain private. It would stay with the development, and the developer would, or the owner would maintain that road forever. It would not be turned over to the city. We are proposing to provide a turnaround area here, so that if they decided that they wanted to gate this off and make it so it was a little more private, if they got a lot of traffic coming in here that was, I'm not sure whether you have that now or not, but if you have traffic come down, they're lost, or they're in the wrong area. If they took the wrong right or left, then they have a place to turn around and come back out, versus a full cul-de-sac bulk. We're proposing just a simple turnaround. So that's really the mechanism relative to the preliminary plan and why we're doing that. It basically is to have the ability to do different financing packages on each parcel. On this part of the project here, relative to our site plan reviews, we did submit them as one for each of the new lots, okay? These areas over here are already approved under site plan approval, and under the most recent modification done in 2009. They have frontage, they exist right now, so those can be constructed as we move forward. Right now, we're working on these three garage buildings, and part of the reason they're doing that is that there are some trailers back in here that have storage of materials, or have had storage of materials, along with some other materials that usually end up on the ground. What Mr. Moran is looking at doing is actually utilizing these garages as his storage areas for materials and equipment and piping and all that stuff, instead of having trailers in the site, to eliminate that. So that's what we're working on right now. So if you go out there right now, these three buildings are in the process of being built. These two buildings will be the next two buildings to be built relative to the apartment buildings, and they would be the same basic configuration as the main building on the site. We have made one foundation that would be, every single building that remains to be built will be the same exact building, so that makes it easier for the building department and everybody doing the inspections to know where things are. These buildings over here, on the modified definitive plan, we have 4 garages that are approved in that location. In these buildings over here, we have existing garages in that location. Because of their remoteness from the actual apartment buildings, there's no interest in renting them as garages. So as part of the project, we're looking at putting 2 units here, converting 2 existing garage bays into 1 unit, 2 bays into 1 unit here as well. So there'd be 3 additional units here. And over here, instead of building the garages that way, we would actually just build them as 4 units, or 3, I think we had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so 7 right over here. So there would be a single one with a 2-car garage, a single and a single with 2 garage bays in between, a single and a single with 2 garage bays in between, the same thing here. So these were approved as garages, but now we would make them units. On the preliminary subdivision plan, one of the things that we did was we did a unit count, and we did a calculation to show the density factors relative to each of the individual lots. So each individual lot, excluding any land within this roadway system, would comply with the zoning today relative to the number of units that would be allowed on that project, excluding those areas for wetlands. So that calculation is actually shown on the preliminary subdivision plan sheet, so that each building lot is explained with what we're doing and how many units we can put on there, and that's the maximum. The drainage for this area here would be handled by the systems that have already been designed. These two, there's a basin that's over here that's been constructed, there's a large basin over here that's been constructed. The only basin that would be left to be constructed would be the one back in here. This system here would all be handled, the drainage would be going back to this system drainage basin right here, which is already constructed. And there's a pipe that comes all the way through in here, which picks up, if you remember correctly, from when we were doing the O'Reilly the O'Reilly Auto Parts project. We had to make that connection of that drain, so that's all been completed. So this drainage system works independently of these over here. The water and sewer would come off of the existing lines within the existing driveway. All these buildings are already have the existing utilities right up to them. So basically, the premise of the project is to allow, is really, 2 or 3 things. One, to allow the ability to finance each of the phases of the project in its own individual lot. The second part is to bring some of the units some of the garage spaces that are not being utilized, to bring them into the point where they could be utilized. The number of units at this point would be capped by this project. You can't do anything more after this. And that really kind of summarizes what's going on out there. The community garden, if you've been out there, it was very much used this past year. Those features are still active, and the bocce is still active as well. So that's all part of it.
So those garage spots weren't calculated into the overall parking, were they?
No.
On the original plan?
No. The original plan, the only spaces that this board would allow us to count would actually be
the outside
spaces.
space.
The
outside
correct.
space.
So we're not losing parking spaces by filling the garages in with units, no.
Well, we are losing parking spaces, but it doesn't matter to the equation. Right?
Correct.
So how many spaces are we losing? What are the counts looking like now? What's
Well,
left?
we actually did a review of this today, just and it's actually in the letters. If you look at the 3 letters.
Yeah, my eyes are killing me.
So on,
I can't see.
So where are the driveways for these units that were garages? They're right here.
yes,
Those
those are their parking spaces right there.
So which
276
shows units?
276
This
garage
plan
bays.
shows units there.
Are
Yeah,
going
that's
away.
unit, garage, unit.
No, that's
Garage
still there.
And then there's 4.
The original.
Oh, it is.
The current shows 248.
Well, you didn't change
Okay.
it.
So in each of these letters, it's a little bit different depending upon what lot you're looking at.
They're all the
Okay.
same, except for one.
Except for one little number here and there. So what it does, each letter is independent, and what it shows is that on lot 4D, okay, I'm sorry, 4D1, which is the approved section of the parking, there's a total of 421 parking spaces on the plan, okay?
Now, they're referring just to hard outside parking spaces.
Hot outside parking, there's 421 spaces, which is 1.95 spaces per unit within this upper area here.
And what was
okay?
required per
On
unit?
1.5.
1.5.
Right.
So are you gonna use that overall calculation across all of them?
Nope, this is individual. Each lot has
Because
its
you're gonna
own.
break them out individually.
Okay, each lot has its own individual
Yep.
calculation. So 421 spaces, and on top of that, it has 165 garage bays within 37 buildings. Okay? So that's the parking for that parcel.
There are, but you can't use.
344 units?
Not on that parcel. Not on
Just
that
talking
parcel.
that parcel, not what's-
Well, you're approved for 342.
342.
Okay, so on this parcel, there are 215 units. Okay?
The first one they cut down.
Which one is that?
Corner?
This is the one up here.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. There are 215 units, okay? There are 421 parking spaces, which is 1.95 spaces per unit. And there are 165 garage bays within 37 buildings on that parcel.
Which are going away.
Nope, this is.
Are you gonna keep those
Yeah,
garages?
no, that number's after we convert these two, these three, okay?
After you convert those to whatever you're gonna convert them to, and counting the actual spaces they'll need at 1.5, added in, and you're where?
Okay, like I said, this will show 215 units. Those 215 includes these three new proposed units,
Okay.
okay? There's 421 parking spaces, which includes the parking up here for these units, and takes away the areas where they're being eliminated, okay? And there's 165 garage bays on this whole upper piece with this color here, okay? So that's the 4D1.
4D1.
Okay, so 4E1 now moves into this color.
John, I think.
Okay,
Excuse me,
4D1.
let me just interrupt.
Okay.
Multiple events you develop. All right, let me explain this, just so we understand why we're having this conversation.
Yeah, please identify yourself, sir.
Peter Bobenzen, Brooks Pond Realty Trust. We have an existing permanently financed development. That is one bank. The construction lender will be a different bank. And each construction pod, they might all get rolled up back into one. But each bank, each institution, some are better at construction lending, and these are big loans. Some are better at the financing of the end loans. So in order to get the best sort of rates and things competitively, they want to look at their little project. They don't want to look at the other projects. They want to look at their project, and it wanted to stand alone from a legal point of view, even though it's integrated in a bigger project. So if you think of it as phases of the same project, what we did was we made sure that each phase, each component totally complied with zoning on its own, and that then the whole project complied. Ultimately, I believe that once it's all financed and constructed, it will end up with one institutional lender with a fixed rate mortgage. But those lenders don't do construction loans. And in the old days, you'd have a construction lender rolling it into a permanent loan, and it just doesn't exist anymore. And for guys like me, so the idea is that the componentizing it really is for financing and to make it sort of fly independently, lot by lot, as if they were in a subdivision. You went and got your financing for your house, and your next door neighbor got his financing for his house, but in fact, it was approved as a plan in its entirety. So it's kind of confusing. The lawyers basically told us they wanted each thing to comply individually, and in order to, because it's not the same lender. Ironically, it's a lot of work, and I apologize to the board for it. But that's why, really the global project, maybe it would be helpful if you looked at the global, and then you break it down so it doesn't get so confusing. Because it really, I want to also back up a little bit. We built the project, we designed it, we tried to come up with what we thought was the right thing to do. We found that we had too many garages. We couldn't even rent them. And the ones that were in the peripheral area that you have to walk the longest distance to, nobody would rent them. Right now, I would say 20 or 30 of the garages I use to store things in already, but I ran out of space. And I would like to get rid of the trailers and some of the other stuff and just sort of consolidate it out. So we really don't want to focus on building more garages, because we could like have off-site people come and store things, but we really don't want to get into that. We've been approached on that, but we don't want to do that. So we just, the ones, if they were all closer to the front doors, they'd all be rented, but nobody in this group wants to block the duration, in order to get to a garage, just something I made a mistake on. So what I came up with was, in areas that I felt that it was kind of nice, that were already kind of remote, that nobody was really interested in. It might be better to put a unit there. And as you remember, maybe you don't remember, but we actually had a few of those units out there in the field. One for a maintenance person, manager, different people. We found that some of the seniors really like these one-level garden-style units. They're kind of private and where they can overlook a nice vista, or they're kind of they're more remote that nobody, I don't think there's going to be a lot of demand for them. My personal thing is I'm having second thoughts about a couple of them after I went out in the field and I looked at them. I'm not sure that they're, it might not be the best spot for them. Originally, they were chosen for their remoteness, though, like that. It was unlikely that somebody would want them. So there's some flexibility in trying to figure out where they should go, if they should be there at all. But so that's the whole thing. And then the idea of the road's the same road as it ever was. By making it a subdivision road, we create frontage. Changing the frontage around allows us to have different banks. For example, we were looking at one bank for one site, and it's a smaller bank. They don't have the legal lending capacity to go bigger. Maybe they're only going to do 2 buildings, and then they're particularly good construction lenders. And then right now we have it set up that you could have 2 banks. With the road, you'd be able to have 3. That's all it does. 3 different banks. And the end loan for the existing project is fixed and it's done. And you know, if you're going to get 2 different construction lenders to try to build it out, I haven't, you know, I'm going to sort of backtrack a little bit. You know, we came in and we asked for the height thing and the zoning change, and I want to address those because they do fit into this plan. What happened was in the rezoning, and I talked to the planning staff, there used to not be a height restriction in Residence C, and they added a height restriction at 35 feet. To build the exact building that we had been building and we had approved, we needed 39.75 feet to get to that point. So all we were doing was asking for an amendment so that we could build what we had already been building, the exact buildings you saw that we had built before. And then the other change that was
We
zoning.
did that, right?
We did it.
That was good.
But I had to do that before I could submit this.
Right.
Because I knew that the design wouldn't be compliant. So the other thing is I moved the zoning line for the commercial back to where it was originally. When I originally made the proposal, a decade ago, or a long time ago, I thought the road going in would be commercial. And then when you got to the back of the development, it would become residential. It made sense, I laid it out. What happened as I sort of went through the analysis, I realized that really the only viable commercial was going to be on Central Street. And then once you took the turn into the development, other than for traffic purposes to make sure that we got rid of curb cuts. I remember, if you remember on A&B Tire, the building was one continuous curb cut. There's a lot of that. There was the old days, there was a lot of that.
Yeah.
So the idea was to get rid of curb cuts, focus it so it's on one curb cut. So I allowed them to come out onto Brooks Pond Road. But I don't want to do any more commercial development down the road because it would be not first-rate commercial. It would detract from the commercial that would be on the street, and then it would encroach in on some of the residential. So I decided, really, Brooks Pond Road, other than those 2 little entry roads that would come in, that would be, that it would just go to residential right away. We had worked with the housing authority. They thought they wanted to do a project. We dealt with that. That was a much bigger project on the left as you go in. They never got the funding. So we toured with a bunch of different things. We looked at the baseball field, something I really wanted to do. We barely could squeeze it in, and then we realized that there was no parking. There was no way to get a legitimate facility there and have stands and park. So it would become like, you know, you could fit like the 315 foot for the foul post. You could get a field. You couldn't get a seat next to it. That didn't fit what I wanted to accomplish. Some of the things worked out really good. The little venue for the where we did the
Gotcha.
the stage, or what do you wanna call
What
it?
stage you gonna do the Thayer Symphony?
Yeah, we did a few things there. We were creative, and we didn't physically build a stage, we used topography, because we were in the 200-foot buffer, so we didn't want to build anything. And so we did it that way, it worked out well, and we had some nice concerts there, we're gonna have some more. That person who keeps texting me is on a concert there. The garden thing is really fascinatingly good. The bocce courts, as you might have known, we're rethinking them a little bit. We want them to survive. We want them to go on into perpetuity. We think that it's a good thing. But economically, we can't integrate it in as the way we thought. Now, what happened was there were two groups. They're actually there tonight. There was a group from the Italian Center and a group from the Folger.
They don't agree.
Yeah?
They don't
Well, you've been there. So,
Yeah.
so what happened was they functioned as two leagues independently together.
Yeah.
You remember Athens Pizza? Like they were gonna put a pizza place in the front. And he would come to me, Harry would come to me and say, but what about the parking?
Yeah.
There's nowhere to park there. And so what happens is that by reducing the number of courts, we were able to increase the number of nights. Because the Folger comes on like Thursday and Wednesday and Thursday, and the other group comes. So we have this, actually more bocce teams, but they function every night.
Yeah.
And then we're turning the snack bar into more of a commercial thing, so that it can take the burden away from the bocce group. And so that everything we're doing there is to try to make it more permanent. The same number of people, spreading it out. Although tonight, right before I left, I was doing some inspections on the drainage and some other things, questions that might come up. And as I left, I noticed the bocce courts were packed. And I can't understand why, because we spread them out over double the nights. So I gotta check, they're adding more people. But, so we're keeping that, and that will become like an amenity. It'll become part of the development, like the swimming pool, the walking trail, the gardens, the different things people do. Nobody participates in everything, but a certain percentage participate in one thing, another percentage participate in another thing. And together, they attract different people, and they all kind of coexist. We think they need to have things to do. So we're trying to preserve that. Some people thought we were taken away, but we're not. So that's sort of the thought process. There's some things that we could have done better, which will come up tonight, I'm sure, and we're working on. But I think that it's a very successful development. People that live there love it, and I think it's a great. I think it's really fun to get back to being able to.
Okay, I think we get the gist of what you're trying to do and all the rest of that.
Yeah.
I know there are a number of issues that, so one of the things, and I got 2 phone calls today from different people, and I think it's the same, we get the pictures
Yeah.
of that back, I guess it's those last 2 houses? Is that area, Bill?
It's right in here.
Yeah. And what's the status? When are we gonna work on those and get that area cleaned up?
Well, I had a meeting with I talked to the building inspector today. It definitely can be cleaned up, should be a little bit better looking, but it's, ironically, the things that are there, they're for recycling, the gypsum and the asphalt and the piles or whatever, but they shouldn't be, that visible. I mean, the remote, the trailers, I agree. When you're in the active state of construction, you tend to get a lot of things that are left over. You've seen things like that, doorknobs. Vandalism has hurt me a lot there. People have broken into them, and I've given up on trying to deal with it. So what I did was, recently I went talked to Roger Brooks, and I mentioned to him that I'm going to go forward and build a couple of garages, and then move everything into garages and get rid of all the trailers on the site. And there's only, I think, 2 left, or maybe 3.
There's only a couple of trailers there.
So,
It's primarily people on Debbie and that.
yeah, I
they're
think
looking out
that, I think I could have done a better job, honestly. You know, but I told the building department today that I would agree that prior to pulling a building permit for the building, that we would walk the site and that he would agree that it was cleaned up.
Yeah, because if you're gonna build, in what sequence are you gonna build those last two buildings, or are they gonna be the last two?
Let me give you what I think is gonna happen. Depending on the permitting process, and I'll explain why in a minute. We are now working on, think of the main project that was approved as
Right.
one project, that everything beyond the river. What's built now is phase one, and what's being built in the future is phase two. The phase two I divide up into two phases, 2A and 2B. 2A is those buildings right there. And
Okay.
2B is right there.
Okay,
And then phase three is over there.
Browns.
Those will be the last one.
No, they won't, they're not necessarily. We think that the sequence is gonna go phase 2A, phase 3, and then 2B. The reason 2B exists in the first place is that when we got to the development, and we started working on it, we started stockpiling loam. The largest pile over there is just loam. It's a pile, it's like a mountain. And when that was supposed to be the two access roads coming in, you divide the site onto the left and the site onto the right. There was going to be 4 buildings on the right that would be built as condominiums, and the 7 on the left would be built as apartments. When we were building the apartments, we realized that the cost of moving the loam pile was in excess of $100,000. Like, we had made a pile, and to move it, we needed the material to screen and to use on the site. But if we just happened to put it in the spot. And so we decided, well, let's build, what we ended up building was the 1,000 building and the 300 building, if you can show what those two buildings are. And we didn't build, I think it's the 800 and the 900 building, because there was a loam pile there. And we reconfigured the site to avoid having, and so the loam pile is got to be processed to be used elsewhere on the site. And so that's why the sequence of events has to do with construction activities and different things. So I think the last thing to be built will be the 2 buildings in the furthest rear. There's a pile of asphalt pieces that are recyclables. That's why they're stored, so that they can then be picked up and moved. And there's a pile of which looks like sand, but it's really gypsum. And what that is supposed to be done is recycled. We have a recycling company that wants it. They don't want to pay for the trucking. They want us to truck it to them. But we finally, I capitulated and said we'll pay for it. So those were recyclable materials. So everything we were putting in there was piece of pipe, things that we were using, things that we were recycling, and looking at it from what it looks like and the length of time that it went. That was my mistake. That shouldn't have been. And I think before I build another building, it has to be cleaned up. I agree with that. Part of cleaning up is to build a couple of garage buildings.
I understand. I'm sure people are calling, they're calling, and that's why you get the pictures.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
are old
we get-
pictures. But I agree with that.
Well, there's still most of that stuff at the,
Well,
those
we
piles.
moved a lot of it out,
Yeah,
some of it.
some
But I
of
agree.
it's still there.
But the stuff that we're keeping is stuff that we would keep.
Okay,
It wasn't like,
Can I?
go ahead, Carol.
So, Bill, so you have, there's 4 projects before us. One is the entire subdivision that we have to vote on first.
The preliminary.
Right, the preliminary. Then within each one of them are the 3
Site.
site plans. So the first one, 2E1,
It's right here.
okay, and I'm saying the first one not necessarily because it's being built first, but just for, so you're proposing 60 residential units?
Yes.
and it has 103 parking spaces?
Correct.
You need 1.5 space per unit, you have 1.72?
Correct.
And then along with that, you have 10 garage bays within 2 garage buildings.
Correct.
And where's your snow going to go there?
Snow storage, basically we have this area over here for snow storage at this end, and then we have a large area in the back here that we're creating snow storage as well. It doesn't look large in this plan, but it's probably about 15 feet deep by the length of that whole parking area.
Okay. And are you looking for any waivers on that section? Or is it on the overall preliminary subdivision?
The preliminary, well, there's going to be waivers. My understanding, and we've been through this a couple times, is that the board doesn't issue waivers on the preliminary. We talk about it during the preliminary phase,
Okay,
but we actually submit the waiver request as part of the definitive phase.
okay.
Yes.
So, okay, yeah, that's
So
true.
that site plan approval will be contingent upon the approval of the definitive subdivision.
Okay,
Right.
and so, okay, so then on lot 4D1,
It's 215 units.
and you're proposing 421 parking spaces.
Most of them exist. Actually, all of them exist.
Okay, that's 1.95 spaces per unit, again, you only need 1.50, with 165 garage bays within 37 buildings.
Correct.
And where's your snow going there?
It's functioning now the way it is. So there's plenty of room in here. There's places all around for that.
Those
Okay.
exist, right?
Yeah, those exist. The snow storage of the property has never really been a problem that I know of.
Yeah, it's not.
You know,
And then lot 4E1,
which is this right here.
which is all, okay, all of those, that's 127 residential units on 4E1, 217 parking spaces,
Correct.
64 garage bays within 11 garage buildings, then the 3 duplex buildings,
Right here, 1, 2, 3. And then one single.
one single
So it's a
unit.
single unit with 2 garage bays next to it.
Yeah,
But
two
the
car
parking for that
garage.
is counted in front of the unit, not in the base itself.
Okay, and the snow storage there is
It's all around
already
the same thing. Yeah.
functioning?
Yeah. So bottom line, what it is 402 units. When it's merged with one project, it's 402 units with 741 parking spaces.
So we're going to go
Which is about
from,
which is about 1.8 spaces per unit, the whole project.
All right, and then, I lost my letter on the preliminary, so when, how are we going to do, we're going to,
you're adding 60 units.
so we're going to,
Yeah.
we're going to vote at some point on the preliminary subdivision, but we can't vote on the site plans until the definitive stage. I don't know, I guess I'm
You can
asking.
vote in the preliminary subdivision, you can condition the lot 2E1 that needs frontage, okay?
Right,
So that can't have frontage until the definitive phase is done.
right,
The other 2 lots already have frontage here. The definitive subdivision of this does not take away their frontage until we actually have an approved and endorsed plan under definitive. So these 2 can be approved now without that condition being part of it.
May I add? The road as approved by the planning board, the original development, is not changing at all, with the exception of a small turnaround along at the end of it. One of the waivers we are requesting is that we are not willing to or want to make this a public way. We are not gonna, like, one of the requirements you have is that we submit it for public acceptance as a public way. We are not gonna be submitting it. We're simply doing this. The existing road would not change at all. All we're doing, I believe I need to turn around. Because people come in there that don't belong there and realize it at some point, and they need a place to turn around. What they do now is they turn around by going through the whole development. So I'm not planning on putting up a gate, but I want to have a turnaround when they realize they're not they're on a dead-end road. So that's really a practical thing that I'm trying to get accomplished.
and what's the access now?
Same access.
Same
Nothing's
access right
changed.
there.
Same.
Yeah, this is all,
We're
all
not,
these
we're not
roads, all these
proposing
roads
to
are built.
change anything.
Like, this is not built here, this road, but this is all
No, no,
built to
actually.
about here. This is built to about here.
Where's the trailers?
Trailers
So
back.
why,
There's
Those
one
trailers
trailer.
left.
I apologize, because I should know
One
this,
inch.
but I'm off. So what, I'm a little off tonight. So what makes this a preliminary what makes this a proposed preliminary subdivision?
Because we're creating this potential, we're creating this part of here as an actual approved way.
Okay, but you don't want it to be a public way?
Correct.
Okay,
Right,
okay,
so
I got
the
you, I got
approved
you
way
now.
gives us the ability
Approved way.
With binder
frontage.
and pavement, to actually have the building inspector grant us a building
Okay,
permit.
so if we take action tonight,
Preliminary.
we vote on the preliminary,
Right.
we can vote on,
You can vote on 2E to approve with the condition that the definitive subdivision plan needs to be approved
as a
and
definitive,
as definitive and recorded prior to issuance of a building permit.
okay,
And you can
okay.
approve these two, that they're, basically that they're approved condition and probably the department comments.
But
Then when-
it can't be approved tonight, you know, so, because I have to
Well,
go
those
back
are all existing.
and talk to people, I have to
Well,
answer
but-
all these things.
But at some, well, no, I don't mean
Department
tonight, I mean, I don't anticipate
Yeah,
closing the hearing
sorry.
tonight, but I'm saying eventually that we're gonna have to take some action, so, and then when you come back before us with a definitive,
Yep.
it's only gonna be,
Basically, it's this right here is all we're gonna be asking for definitive.
Right,
And
and
then the lot lines will be.
and
on
if
there.
we have approved this, the preliminary with the subdivisions in them, you're not coming back before us because they're automatically approved once the definitive is approved. I mean, the site plans.
Right, right, so what we're trying to do is, the site plan is the site plan issue, okay, that would be part of any, it's kind of a little bit backwards, you might say, if this was undeveloped, we might come in with a road and 3 lots, okay? What we're trying to do now is create the ability, the mechanism of financing for this one by adding frontage to
Okay.
that lot.
Yeah,
So, which brings me now to the department heads, I don't know if you did a similar letter, but once somebody, I think it's the building inspector, and maybe another department head is concerned about,
Public Works had a few.
about,
About NEPA?
no, it's about, unless I'm reading it wrong.
nothing.
Site should be cleaned up, and we
Cleaned up.
talked about that,
Yeah.
before new project starts and before approval of definitive.
Yeah, what can we do about the site?
I spoke to him today, and I'm sure I'll be speaking to some of the neighbors. I mean, goal is to try to, it's a construction project, so it still will be one, but faster I can move forward. But I definitely believe I could have done a better job with that.
Can't you
And I
move trailers
told
like
him,
around
I'm gonna move them out off
on
the
the other
property.
side of
You
the,
know,
But,
get them
because
out?
now the new construction, you have trailers again, so what my goal was to build some garages, make it disappear. So what I committed to the building department was that prior to them issuing me a building permit for the buildings, that I would walk the site with him, and he would approve that I cleaned it up. I told him there's some subjectivity, like we are in a construction site. So I would trust his judgment. So in the discretion of the building inspector, I agreed. I feel his position is reasonable, that like if you know, because it's an ongoing construction site, that he would make the decision. I also, way before this, that there was a prohibition of me getting building permits. I went to the Roger Brooks at the DPW and asked them if I could get the permits for the garages so that I could move and all of the rest of the material and put it in garages. So the whole effort of building the garages is so we can remove the stuff from the site that people don't want and not require trailers during the build out of the construction. So I'm really trying to get it organized before I start, and I'm confident that I can get it organized. But still, it is a construction site. So the idea is that I trust the building inspector. So I'm gonna send him a letter. And, I gave him basically control, his reasonable discretion, that
Okay.
he's satisfied that I cleaned it up.
All right, so
And I
that's,
think he's talking the
Well, the
Board
good
of
thing
Health
is,
and the,
as you finish this project, you have to clean it
I
up.
know.
If you
well, I
finish the
understand
building-
that, but I mean, it's gonna work.
Okay, so that's the
Not
building
something-
inspector. Then, Bill, you have conservation. What's your
Yeah, we,
interaction with them?
We're gonna file new notes, like most of the stuff, most construction we're doing is outside the buffer zone anyways. So I think part of what we're gonna end up doing is where it makes sense is to, if we can, we'll probably end up asking for compliance to the previous project, outlining those items that have not been completed or have still waited to be done, which will be filed in a new notice,
Okay.
okay?
And then,
That's not a big deal.
and then it looks, I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
John. Then it looks like police is just asking to have the plan provide for a state standardized handicap
Right,
the
which
annex
the plan does,
spaces.
but once again, like in the registry project, we're just gonna label them.
Okay. Then health, it talks about the cleanup, Board of
Right.
Health.
Yeah,
And then the DPW show flood zone on site plans,
That's on there.
additional sewer plans are subject to 4-to-1 removal remediation.
Right.
Is sewer pump station size to handle the additional sewer flows?
Yeah,
This is,
yeah, so
yeah, we're gonna go through all
I
those.
think we're gonna have a meeting with DPW to address them, because they're technical, so we wanna make sure that they're satisfied on all of those. We believe they are, but we wanna meet with them first and just go over it line by line.
all right, he's the one,
okay.
DPW is the one that's saying the site plan should not be improved until the definitive subdivision plan has been approved.
Right, that's really
Well, we
lot
can give
2.
preliminary.
Well, I think one can be continued.
And which one is lot 2E, the one, okay.
But I wanna add this, the only difference with or without the subdivision is that the subdivision road is not approved, it does not have a turnaround, and it can only have 2 banks. That's the difference. It's the same exact plan, both the approved plan and the proposed plan. I need, one of the things, like, to sort of, a quick hitter, so you understand. The zoning line for the Residence C goes out to Central Street. That, you have the 300-foot setback, then it goes out to Central Street. That becomes the frontage for Brooks Pond is on Central Street. And so you can divide that in half to get the minimum required frontage, and it goes down the center line of the road and creates 2 lots. To create a 3rd lot for only financing purposes, so they could be different banks, you need to create frontage in the zoned area. So if, for example, it doesn't get approved, then it just merely says that there can only be 2 banks.
Right.
That's it. There's no different
Nothing you can
practical,
do.
and there won't be a turnaround. I'll
Yeah.
come, like, the idea is the turnaround is something I want, because I've had to deal with the trucks coming through. So I'm trying to make it a little bit better, so that practically speaking, from a, we don't want it to be a public way. We just want to create the required frontage so we can have, it's the same project. We could have this all under one project.
Got it.
Like, the reason that we divided into 2 was that back, and thank God I didn't do it, I was thinking I was gonna condominiumize one side and apartments on the other side, and then I would slowly condominiumize the whole thing. We wouldn't be here today if I did that, because it would have been a terrible thing. And so I built the apartments, I changed the plan around a little bit because of the loan pile. I stopped when the economy stopped, and now I want to try to finish it off. It's going to, the whole thing is going to stay as a Brooks Pond apartment development. And,
Are
for
you
my
gonna
lifetime.
make any of condos?
No, not any.
It's gonna stay as,
No, I mean, and I really am not, saying it makes a difference, but for my lifetime, I don't think it will ever change. I love the development. I really think it's a positive. There was some bleak days, to be honest. Difficult times when the banks decided to reverse direction, but we made it, so.
So what we'll do is we'll go back
That's
to
what we're
the
doing.
departments and review all the
Just-
comments with them, and we'll.
That would be
put
helpful,
together-
because the
Yeah.
DPW just has
So
some that may or may not be relevant to us. I don't know what he's referring to when he refers to the CMRs.
Right,
And then, I don't know, he's concerned about the emergency access, but I didn't get anything from, I didn't see anything from fire, and I didn't see
Yeah,
anything from.
There was, when I looked at the
There is
drawing,
emergency access on the project. It is actually, there is an actual.
I'm sorry, not emergency, does the T turnaround provide adequate turning radius?
but that drawing wasn't clear on where the emergency access was.
It's where it's been.
Yeah, I know, but it's not clear
it
on the
doesn't
drawing.
show it in that little.
Yeah, this little sketch. but-
Yeah,
So we'll go back through the departments, we'll try to get the plans updated to address their issues, and try to get letters from them saying that they're now satisfied, so that we're all set on things.
I have two questions. They make note that the original NEPA filing was for the entire parcel,
Right.
and it needs to continue to be treated that way from their perspective. Therefore, the project requires a notice of the project. Do you intend to do that?
No, it doesn't require it, I have to go through that when we
We're
explain.
gonna talk with them?
Yeah.
Okay. And the other thing is, lot 2E1, they say it's subject to the current stormwater regulations.
Yes,
requires
and it does meet it,
It meets that?
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll talk about that with the DPW as well,
and conservation.
and conservation.
yeah,
Okay.
no,
Good.
and that'll have to be complete before we get the definitive.
Should we open it up to the audience?
Okay.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
No, I get it now.
You got it, Carol?
John, we're gonna open it up to the audience.
Yeah. Well, I think we've had it open, but I'm gonna open up to the audience. Do I have anyone in the audience that has any questions? I'll ask again. Anyone in the audience? Okay. And board members, do we have any other questions? Okay, I think,
Are we continuing this, or?
well, yeah, we're gonna continue it. And he's gonna go to the departments and clean up some of the contents. So we need a
We're not doing
motion.
anything with the preliminary tonight at all.
And we're not setting a date
No.
when we're continuing it to.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We always do.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
So, well, I make a motion to take
Yeah.
the four all together.
Okay,
Second.
motion made and second to combine. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Make a motion to continue the preliminary and the three site plans, lots 2E, 4D, and 4E, on whatever date we're gonna get, whatever
Month?
date the developer wants.
What do you
2
want?
weeks, month?
There's October 3rd and October 17th.
Do you already have a meeting set up with DPW?
No, that shouldn't take
Do you want the,
Yeah.
do we have anything on
We
the third?
go to
that long. Or the 3rd?
just to keep it moving.
We don't have anything current.
That's fine.
Let's do
Okay.
Thank you.
six,
October 3rd.
6:30, 31, 6:32, 6:33.
Yep.
That's my
Yeah.
motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Okay,
Thank you very much.
good luck.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
We get there.
No. That's an
I
that's an
had
improvement.
the preliminary on the other side.
Carol,
There's
in the second.
No.
That's good.
one of those young
Yeah, you really take.
Pat did.
Yeah, I saw it,
Patrick
yeah.
on the first one.
Yeah.
Combine them.
Hello, Patrick.
I saw Pat,
It just occurred to me tonight it was a preliminary though, and not a definitive.
Done.
That's why I,
Somewhere on the.
A call to order.
Attendance.
Patrick Perla,
Here.
Fred Frederick,
Here.
Paul Weiser. Here. Salvador Tony,
Here.
John Souza,
Yeah,
Carol Torioso,
here,
Tom Kerrigan.
Here.
Mike Leanne.
Here.
hey, minutes of previous meeting.
I apologize, I almost finished it. We'll have it for next time.
That's
But,
Okay.
We're,
Table that.
I'm not gonna be able to.
single-handed right now, so.
Tom says he can't sleep until he gets
I know,
there.
I won't be able to sleep.
I was
Real nail
tonight.
biter, yeah. Yeah, I'll have them,
Not
next
really,
meeting.
won't be able to.
I don't know, I usually agree to him, puts me to sleep.
There is that too, and
I
it
don't
won't
think
be
it's
7
that.
pages,
I
don't worry.
think it's something else. Watch out.
All right.
Okay, and plan submitted. A&R, Whalen Road, Lunenburg. Lunenburg, book 8339, page 4.
There we go, okay. Oh, you give it back to me, okay.
Tom Gustafson, the attorney for Whalen Road LLC, and Gary
Patiently
Gordon,
waiting.
who is the manager. We have a subdivision that, or it's not subdivision, it's actually A&R plan for development
Whalen Road in Lunenburg, and when the survey was done of the property, they found it was about a 3-foot wide strip of the property that's located in Leominster.
3 feet.
Yeah, signature.
Wow.
Boy, I don't know.
How much are we collecting on taxes?
I'll trade you the Mylar.
Yeah, that's probably a
Yeah.
Take it the other one.
Take one of the other copies.
We're gonna go blind.
Yeah, you wanna put papers, you wanna put
Yeah,
Is this
yeah.
one of those
Use the-
brain
yeah.
game shows or something?
Yeah, take the mile out down.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's nice.
So there's frontage on Whalen Road, this is in Lunenburg, and there's a back, this is basically the boundary line between Lunenburg and Leominster along the back of the property.
Yeah.
And there's just a narrow strip of land that shows
Oh,
up in
yeah.
Lunenburg. This is a development that has been approved, it's got its comprehensive permit, we're looking to close on financing. And so that was the reason for the A&R plan, partially because the developer has agreed to donate several parcels to the town of Lunenburg. There's a little basketball court, ball field and such here, there's some land here, and then to the water district.
all dug up right now,
He's done, I mean, there's a big pile of loam
Yeah.
there,
I
yeah.
know.
Yeah, exactly, big pile of loam.
Everybody's got loan.
Frontage is 100
Does
feet,
have loan
80 in
in the front
Leominster.
yard.
They have
So there's no frontage in,
No.
on Leominster, I mean, it's just this bad.
Frontage is
It's
up
Right,
Three
but it's up
foot.
here,
So
it's
what are we
still,
voting on?
it's A&R.
Just
See the strip right here, Tom?
Yeah, it's a little strip.
Interested in endorsing
Just an
it.
endorsement.
Motion to endorse.
Yeah, most of it was.
There's no development that'll take place.
Yeah.
in Leominster.
Hey, we'll move the city line.
It doesn't show up on the assessor's.
It doesn't
No,
show.
so it'll help us clean it, yeah.
I have a motion to endorse.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Here none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Both say no. Motion carries. A&R 1052 Mount Elam Road, Lot 429-5A.
This plan was submitted,
Yes.
Salvatore Amico, 1052 on Newham Road. Want me to put this up there?
Sure.
Well, you can, no, she's got
You
copies
can lay
for
down,
us.
you
Do it right
can
here
have
if
the
you want.
copies.
Yeah.
Right here. This plan divides the property located at 1052 Mount Elam Road into lot 1A. A lot with existing buildings and parcel 1B, a non-buildable parcel which is being conveyed to an abutter, Matthew and Maria Amico.
Maria, so 1B goes to Matt and Maria.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's still in compliance.
You got 3 acres.
And you got plenty of frontage.
Yeah.
Motion to endorse.
Mount Elam Road. Yep,
Yep.
you got plenty of,
Yep.
no problem with that one. One day road.
Beautiful.
No, well, when they're easy ones like that.
To wait and have it done.
I'm sorry it took you so
And
long.
you've been patient, sitting here for 2 hours.
Yeah, I know, thank you, sir.
Well, you got the,
I thought he was gonna complain about everybody else.
I have a motion made and seconded to endorse. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Both say no. Motion
Thank you.
carries.
Thank you.
1157 Main Street. And,
They've gotten faster
What did you
each
bring?
time.
Okay.
11 by 17.
Want the 11 by 17 or the big ones?
yeah, that'd be good enough.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just a little bit. Time speed ballot, Wetland Dam. The existing parcel, creating a building lot and a parcel that's not considered a building.
Here's Main Street, okay. Oh, no, what is this? Bella Villa, okay,
This,
Penny Lane, Mary Avenue,
Just
okay,
carving
I
out
know
lot
where.
1?
Just carving out lot 1 and parcel A is a non-building lot.
This is lot.
That's all, does that Mary Avenue have access?
It does not have frontage on the end of the street. Technically, you
That ends at the property line, Mary Avenue.
Right. Yep.
Now, could they build off of that? Could they
They
come
could
up,
propose
They'd
to
have to push the
extend
road.
that, but they'd have
Yeah,
to.
they'd have to build the road.
come in as a
It's gonna
subdivision?
have to come in as a subdivision,
Correct.
yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
it would have to come in as a.
So all they're doing
Which is
is.
probably the.
They're gonna, that's probably the plan, take that out. Because I remember when they did Mary Avenue, those small lots,
Yes.
and Penny a couple of years ago, and I knew that
They're all
Yeah.
25 foot.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And what's the frontage you need? 80?
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
And
you've got plenty of
151?
frontage on Main
I
Street.
always like to check. Motion to endorse.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to endorse. Any discussion? Here none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. A&R, north side in Independence Drive, opposite Wiki Peaky Way.
You too? Not there.
All right.
Ah, all right.
State your name, please.
Steve Ballard from Whitman and Bennett.
Not Wiki Peak.
not to be confused with.
This is the same
Wire.
principle.
Is this all one lot?
It's it's 170 acre. If you look in the locust map,
Yeah.
that shows the entire parcel. It's originally a 70 acre parcel. It was part of the Crown Point subdivision.
Right, yeah.
So
So
is
they want to take a lot out, that 1 acre lot out, and then leave the rest in
Well-
here, not a building lot.
No, wait a
This
minute
won't be a
now.
building lot.
Correct. No,
Well, you can't
that-
access it.
that could be, but this
Yes.
is not.
But,
The
well,
remaining-
Are these already A&Rs?
Those were part of our previous
Previous
subdivision.
subdivision, so you just, oh, I
So all they're
understand.
doing
So
is
this,
creating another lot right
This,
now.
this entire parcel
Is that what
came
they're
to
doing?
this.
oh, okay.
so
You're not
the entire
including these in
parcel
here,
is-
I got you.
Correct.
These are the blank spaces and the shaded spaces, this and that. Okay,
A lot, just.
all right.
Well, wait a minute
Yeah.
now.
So this is the lot, right here.
That's the
You
lot.
got 91,
Yep.
it's
Well,
4800.
This is coming out of
That's
this.
correct.
That's coming out of that.
You
Right.
take the
Yes, this
frontage
already
away
exists.
from
Now,
that
but
as
you're
well.
creating a
Non-building lot.
non-buildable lot.
Correct. Not a
They're
building.
coming from another
He
lot.
hasn't
not
read,
buildable, it's
he
not
hasn't
a
written
building.
on a
No, now
building
it's-
lot.
Well, you'd have to access it somewhere else.
Yeah, they'll access it.
Down the
There's
road.
plenty of ways they can access it.
Motion endorsed.
Yeah.
Second,
Okay,
It's just they can't bring it out Independence, or they couldn't anyway. They got
Right.
100 other permits up there.
yeah,
We'll move it.
okay. We get all, motion to endorse. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Set up a site plan.
Site plan, 200-210 New Lancaster Road. Bank and drive-through coffee shop.
Is that a bank with the coffee shop?
No, it's two separate buildings.
Oh, is that- what
I didn't
great
bring the
concept.
plans, but
Yeah,
it's, yeah.
Make your deposit.
Just
Just
have
have to
Coffee, you're
schedule
on
it,
your
right?
own.
So,
Yeah, we're just
Capital One.
scheduling that.
October
So that's-
3rd at,
It's called
well,
the
we got
Second
Brooks
Club.
Pond all October 3rd.
Yeah, like October 3rd, Brooksmont, we'll have to do it later.
Yeah, let's do it October 17th.
No, we can do it
What,
Later in the
7:30?
day.
7:30.
7:30.
Brooks Pond should not take that long.
No, 7:30 and then.
No, let's do it for 7,
Do it for 7.
Unless Peter
Seven.
comes in.
We can't-
Seven.
because it's just a
Oh,
preliminary
what am I saying?
plan.
I thought we started at 7 for that one, so yeah, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
7.
Take long.
All right.
7 o'clock,
Oh, he
So
doesn't need
moved.
to come. You got it.
New Lancaster Road.
Okay. Motion made and seconded for 7 o'clock on October 3rd. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Pick first one.
Site plan, 45 Summer Street, multi-unit housing.
Plus the
So
special
this is
permit.
another Bill Hannigan, and he left, but I know, busy guy these days.
Plus the special.
You'll see he also has a special permit coming up, if you'd like to schedule both for the 17th.
Is that the old building?
Good,
The
17th
old
is good.
toy factory?
Yes, on the right hand
Yeah.
side of the brick one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna do
So 6:30
On Summer
multi-unit.
Street.
Heading
That was
over to
the
Carter
road.
Park.
Yeah, I know it's
The
Summer
road
Street,
that cuts over to Carter Park.
because you got the boarding house there now.
You
Yeah,
go
I
down
think
by
that's across the
Schofields.
street or next door, yeah.
So 6:30 and 6:31?
6:30
Oh.
and 6:31 on the 2nd.
On the 17th.
6:30.
On the 17th?
Yep.
6:30 and
Okay.
6:35?
One.
6:30 and 6:31.
Okay.
Fred's motion.
It's just weird to do it that way, because when people read it in the paper, it's not distinct.
Cohesive.
That's what I, but however you guys
We'll
want to
make
do it.
it
6:30,
6:35.
6:35, is that better?
No, it's still screwed up, so do 6:30.
Fine.
1 minute.
1 minute, so you
Fine,
can
we
open
just
up
never
and
used to
talk
do
about them
that.
both.
I'm a creature of
No,
habit.
you only got one.
They can ask if they don't know.
All right,
Um,
second.
Well, I gotta do them individually. Because one's a site plan and the other one's a special permit. Yeah, okay.
I wrote up my
October 17th
6:30.
at 6:30.
6:31.
Okay, now you can't do
No,
the
no,
6:31
this is fine.
6:35.
for the site plan. All in
Okay.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Okay, who?
For the
Now,
special,
wait a minute, wait a minute. Who
Just make it up.
motioned? Did
that
you
was
second?
Paul and Sal.
No, no, it was Fred.
Oh, Fred, okay,
When
Fred.
everyone's here, you can
Fred
make
and
it up.
Paul.
You can make it up.
You can't make it up when
No,
someone's
you
missing, because then you're gonna use the missing person.
And that was for the 6:30 for the site plan.
Right.
The site plan, 6:35.
And the
6:31,
same
the special
thing.
permit.
Make
Oh,
a
you got-
motion.
Guys are such old
6:35.
women.
That was Fred's motion.
Or
6:31.
whatever you want.
October 17th, 6:35.
6:35.
All in favor, say
You can't make an amendment,
Same, okay.
like, just
He-
because
he
you're the
amended it.
emperor.
I don't care.
Let's roll. We still got
aye.
this.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
Under
Motion
duress.
carries.
Jeez.
Old business, continue site plan for Exchange Street. That's gotta continue. I wanna see the paperwork from the building inspector.
Okay.
Okay.
I just have to point out, it still drives me nuts that there's something on the plan. Who has their plan?
Interesting. Well, you know, he should be.
Here.
Oh, it's not.
Did we close the hearing?
No, we continued. Did we?
Continued,
We
yeah.
did close the hearing.
We did close.
We
it.
closed it. You can't look at anything now.
Alright.
Well, you can,
Yeah, we-
tell us what you want. No, well,
Yes.
this is already in there. You can tell us your concern,
Yeah.
because it's in the plan.
We went on the sidewalk in this building here, remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, if you notice, he's still got it shown as if there's separate driveways.
Oh, yeah.
To the garage, and it's not.
No, it's not.
So, I don't know, this is just not drawn
That's what it's
to,
doing.
yeah. So, I
And
just
we
wanted to make
continue
sure
in it,
that's.
but he's gonna, one of the conditions.
Well, we didn't talk
Just-
about that at the
Yeah.
time, so.
But that's okay, but it's on the plan. If
It
it-
is.
that's isn't how it exists in
And-
real life, that's still something we can talk
Well,
about.
we
And-
went-
And what's your concern with the building inspector? With the,
Well, it's driving on that whole bit, we're going out
well,
on
we talked
88.
about that, so,
What?
I mean, we closed it, so what do you,
Well, he's gotta come, we can continue, we don't have to accept it tonight. He's gotta come back with, as the conditions, I wanna see as-built plans for section A. I wanna see the documentation. He said an ADA came through and
Why
agreed,
did we close
and
it?
we don't have to.
but we closed the hearing, didn't we?
Did we?
I don't- we,
I'm not sure.
No, we didn't.
We did.
We definitely closed the
I
hearing,
was
that's
here.
not up for debate. Hearing's closed, for sure.
Carol is right on that one.
So you can't talk.
but why don't we
Reopen it.
well, we can't. Why don't we
Yeah.
can we table the vote to the next
Yes.
meeting and have them come back?
But
Yeah.
you did ask for those things before we closed it, so we could wait till they're produced before we vote.
That's correct.
Yes.
So we just
Can
table
we
the
put
vote,
Can we
waiting
put
for
them as
more
a-
information.
Well, we
that we
table the
asked
vote until we get more
for.
information.
Waiting for the more information that we asked for.
Right.
And that he said he would provide.
But you know, I'm just
Can we
gonna
put it
say
as a
one
condition
thing,
or
the
whatever?
I wanna-
ADA needs
You know
to
what?
let people
Either
on
that or
their supply.
we just deny the plan. So let's table it and ask for that
Table it.
information. And
I concur.
So we're going to ask for the as-built plans.
As-built plans, that's what we asked for before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
and
was-
the ADA.
And he
Well,
comes
he
back,
said-
oh, we just made minor changes.
No, he-
Where's my
well,
as-built
well,
plans?
He just said, you deserve that, you'll get it.
That's right.
I remember.
And he said he was gonna get it to us.
We went on a walk, and I didn't see it.
And I need the
But
ADA
that's gonna
information.
come from, you know, a conversation with the building inspector if it's in the notes. You can't go after the people that bought the properties.
And this is before the vote.
I know that.
I have to check with
So
their.
if it's not in the file,
Take their files on that.
yeah.
There's gotta be a file on it.
John, when we went on the walk.
And then you can ask,
Some of
you
those
can ask the
cars-
present building
none of
inspector,
those
just
cars
as a
have
common
flags.
practice.
Yeah, I know.
Because I could see, I could see
I
where,
don't think they were
where,
even
it
back
would-
then.
remember that
I'm not even sure if they were back then.
but is it a
What's
convenience,
that?
or did it
I'm
really
not
happen?
sure if they were all backed in,
Right?
like he
Yeah.
said.
Oh, yeah, I don't know that, I
Well, yeah,
can't.
but we're just gonna
No,
see
the
if
cars
it's a
don't back.
convenience
Dates
or.
are taking
Yeah,
action
those
on
do back in.
They do back in. Every
time you go by the
cars.
Yeah.
Close the hearing.
We
I
did.
could,
Yeah.
I couldn't,
Yeah,
I haven't
You wrote
noticed,
that one
so
down.
okay.
I couldn't
So this is
comment.
Yeah.
continued until
Pat,
when?
Tom.
The next
Close
meeting,
hearing, motion carried.
Until the 3rd.
Yeah.
Okay,
October 3rd.
all right. We'll
What's
just
it
put,
doing?
They're really
we'll just
nice.
table it, so we'll put under old business.
Gives a
Okay.
little chance of
Can I
research.
just point out, if there's a time restriction, because it's a site plan, so from when it was stamped in, I don't know if this is a special permit, but I note that if it's 90 days, we would need to,
That's why we have to table it.
We would need an extension.
because you closed the hearing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So how do we
so
table it?
90 days from filing?
Can we table it? Can we table it? We closed it.
I think
Yeah,
so, because I
because you're
made
just
a note
not
of it
voting yet. You just
specifically
haven't
to make
decided.
sure we didn't.
It's
run
just-
Yeah,
out of
but you
time.
have to vote, you have to vote within a window of time, otherwise, if you don't take any action, it's deemed approved.
Oh,
Like an A and R?
I think so, I don't know the specifics on that, I'll have to
and when
check.
is it stamped in? We have that here.
Well, it shouldn't take more than 2 weeks to
And I have.
Yeah, produce the information that
I
I
did
think we are
the
worrying
math.
about.
Chris, when did you think it was coming up?
Academic. Like, I think it's
The
gonna
90
be
days,
stuff.
when did you think it was over?
It's sometime between, I think between now and the next
And
meeting.
the next
Oh.
meeting.
Oh,
So could we put an extension?
not if we're up against the 90 days.
No.
They have to
that's
put it,
right,
in. They have to put it in writing.
Correct.
Well, it's- you always make a condition to see all of that information.
So,
prior
well, what's
to-
the
It
date?
was
Do you,
stamped in
Well,
June 1st.
How about
July,
building permits?
August,
Can approve the
September,
plan
so we're gonna be,
based
is it
on-
90 days from the time
90
it's
days.
stamped?
You're already
think so,
past
yeah.
90 days.
Yeah, you're already past them.
June what, was
June
it?
1st.
But we didn't close the
I
hearing.
said June
Yeah, we didn't close the
1st.
Oh, yeah, but,
Well, then you're past 90 days.
yeah.
I thought I did the math. Well, okay,
September 1st would have been 90 days.
yeah.
So why don't you just ask, I say we, if
Maybe
you're
no, maybe it's
concerned
for the
about those
opening of
things.
the opening of the public hearing,
So
Which
that's.
was- That
would make more
That was only
sense.
2 meetings ago.
which
One meeting
was,
ago.
August, month or 15.
No.
That was,
It was
August,
before August
mid-August.
15th, because
No.
August 15th was the second day, I thought.
I think it was August.
We only had one meeting, so it must have been.
Yeah,
July,
Yeah.
July 18th,
July
August,
18th.
September,
So we
October,
got another
so
month.
so we might,
Ta-
might be.
We get
able-
till October 18th.
So you got 2 more meetings.
table it and then ask Kent for that information that they said they'd provide to us.
Come in on the 7th. We're gonna have it on the 3rd, so we'll be.
Yeah.
We'll be in on the
Yeah,
3rd.
he's gonna be on the 3rd, so it'll be good,
Yeah.
right?
Good deal.
Even if that applies, we don't know for sure.
Then,
but yeah, we'll
then
be all
ask
right.
him for a letter of extension if you think we're within the.
But they have to.
And now,
Okay.
I think you're right.
Well, he's gonna say executive session, he didn't say that yet.
We're right there.
Motion to adjourn.
Now, wait, I gotta go into,
Oh, that's right, we got Brooks Pond first, sorry.
No, we have the RMV.
Hold on.
yeah, we got RFP we gotta deal with.
Oh,
I just wanna wrap up the,
thanks,
town
Paul.
meeting, so we're tabling it to the October 3rd.
Right.
That's Brooks Pond, that's done.
Alright.
Tabling the vote.
That's right. Yeah,
And we'll put it under old
yeah,
business.
we're just gonna have to say continue.
And we just never took it off the table, so it's still under old business.
Yeah, that's where,
Research.
that's what fell
Okay.
on here, okay.
Make a motion.
New business.
Yeah,
Oh, I've got to vote on that table.
yeah.
I don't think you need to table, because you never took it off the table.
I was
Inaction
Inaction seems-
It actually
It
did
remains under old business until you take it up.
Yeah, that's true, okay. So it stays on old business. New business, site plan for Research Drive, RMV building.
Make a motion to accept the site plan as long as we meet the requirements for all the department heads.
And what about the increase in the road width, or making that a connector road versus a
Well,
shared driveway?
we want it to be 32, the connector road to be 32 feet.
32 feet.
Yes,
Make that a condition.
and no waivers on that width, nothing. Because that's gonna be a nightmare in
What if they put a trucking company?
I know it.
That's right.
Yeah.
It has to be a big enough road, it's gotta be a road.
It's a road.
You don't have to call it a road, but it's a road.
And then when he says, oh, it's gonna be a driveway, no.
Not you're gonna
And
service
then,
four
you know,
So
lots.
the only
actually,
condition-
then it makes it look like it's a, you know, that has two axes.
I will second Fred's motion.
So first, the first condition is that, all the conditions of the department heads. The second is that the road be,
The access road.
the access road, okay?
So the other four
On
lots
the
be
side,
Constructed as a
32 feet.
connector
As a
road.
connector, as a full width 32-foot road.
Yes.
Access
That would
road
make
be
it 34.
constructed as,
Full width is 34,
Considered a
Oh,
connector road.
34, I
guess.
But we asked for 32.
at
That's
32,
for 32.
Full road's
32.
32
Yeah,
feet.
it's gotta be
Is that a
32.
connector road size,
I don't know.
32.
or are we just using those?
Just making an assumption, but Kristen, you know, if I'm wrong. you know,
I'm sure there's a,
We want
a
30
connector
feet.
road has
It's not
a
a
certain
road.
width.
Right.
It
or-
does.
A
So,
connector, whatever.
We're just asking for 32
32-foot,
demand.
And with no parking on that road.
yeah, constructed
Yeah.
as a.
No
yeah.
parking spots whatsoever.
no park, and signage, right? No parking signage.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Parking.
And what about, were we gonna do something about the traffic?
Well, I mean, doesn't it just make too much sense to do it all at the beginning and file that right up
They
front?
can't.
I don't
Why
think.
couldn't they
Well, but Bill
make the
said-
assumption?
No, he was gonna do a
He said he
simulated,
was,
Yeah.
he
He's
said
gonna
you
do a
could make that a
simulation.
condition, I can't remember what it was.
I-
right, he would do a simulated,
Some kind of
Simulate-
he would come back to us with a simulated.
A
least
level
get
of
the
service
process
review
going.
is what he called
Okay.
it,
What's that?
okay?
A
A
level
level
of-
of service review.
Yeah, maybe
Okay.
that,
Well,
maybe
let's
with
do
that,
that.
that
Said
we
you
have
would
a
do that as a
motive.
condition.
He said there's a left-hand
Highway.
turn onto that.
There's a left-hand turn lane. I'm gonna go see if when's the last time they painted those lines,
I never-
because
I
they're
don't
pretty
remember.
dumb.
Yeah, I can't, yeah.
Uh,
I don't remember.
Well, there's kind of a right lane.
There is.
There's a breakdown, go into it.
But they're not,
That's it.
you know, I don't think they're
They're not
really well
lined up.
painted.
No.
Or
They
they're
don't have
worn
to be.
out.
I don't know about myself.
Yeah.
No, that's true, but they were,
Yeah.
yeah.
They'll have
They'll have to be
But
repainted.
he said they were all marked,
Yeah, I don't remember.
Oh, it was built for,
marked with black paint.
it was built for light, so
Yeah.
bright lighting is not gonna be.
Okay, so on this, on the R&B building, we'll approve it with conditions
I even got myself to death.
Okay.
Sorry.
of the traffic plan, the width of the road, and the no parking on that road.
And all department,
And all the department heads.
Different world. It was.
Okay, any other? That's Freddie?
No, that's fine.
Who's motion?
It
was Fred.
Fred's? Who's the second?
My amendment,
I did.
Paul.
Paul,
Paul.
okay. Fred and Paul.
and I was an amendment.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Can I make a motion to take 5.3, 5.4, and 5.4 as one block?
Including 5.2.
And 5.2.
And 5.2. I don't have my glasses on.
5.2, 3, 4, and 5 is in block. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion
did
carries.
we already schedule that?
Yes.
Yes.
Number
Yeah,
6:30.
we
Can you just
scheduled
refresh
that
my memory
October
on the
30th.
six-
It's continued.
6:01?
10:03, 6:30, 31, 32, I'm breaking my own rule, 31,
Wow,
32,
you are
33,
Yeah,
34.
I'm not breaking the law.
It's gonna call you a
It's a new day.
October
That's not a
3rd.
word.
You could inherit it.
30, 31,
Crazy.
33.
Murder at the stake, huh?
I'm gonna get to a dictionary. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Fit
Opposed
that.
say
Motion to
no.
adjourn. There it is.
Wait a minute, wait a
You don't
minute,
have
wait a
anything
minute.
else to vote,
Oh,
you
he's
get the
got-
whole backside.
he's got a-
I don't have an agenda, that's why I
Calendar yourself.
can't see.
Motion to adjourn. Oh, no, communications? No. Oh, do I have any
Wait, I
communications?
had
Oh,
a
wait.
report. No.
Oh, good.
Oh, keep
So-
scripting you.
We already
Come on.
adjourned,
I'm
sorry.
just kidding.
She is.
So I just want to make sure, so, for Brooks Pond, it's just scheduled for that's all we're doing with it right now.
Right.
Right.
Okay,
Yep. Nothing
I'm
else.
good.
Any communications?
No,
Director's report?
Nope.
Executive, no. Adjourned? Go ahead, Sal.
All right, it's already made. Who seconded
Motion
it?
made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Second.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
All right.
Yeah,
Only allowed
yeah.
to second.